There we go. I'm good. All right, so the whole barbecue.
It's coming Saturday.
This coming Saturday. Okay. I ain't got no tickets, but
You need some tickets?
yeah, you got some?
I'll take your money. You gotta have no ticket.
You just gonna,
I know you.
you'll know me? Tell me.
$8 a plate. I gotta make a note of that. I ain't got no name with you.
Well, how about I get, what'd I get for that? $40.
$8.
All right.
$8.
No.
Hey, that's $5.
$5.
$8.
That'll be good. That'll be $5. That'll be exactly what I can cover my mom-in-law and have an extra. What time is it?
2 to 5.
2 to 5. All right. And it's right there at the
station.
At the station.
You drive through.
How y'all doing? All right.
How about you? All right. Just got to remember it now. But I will.
The two middle ones.
All right. I'll put it in my phone. That's what I need to do. I seen it. Y'all send out a thing on Facebook or something, but I didn't. Maybe thought it was something. I got it. I'm tired of that thing by this time. I'll put it in my phone. Yeah, I'll put it in.
Let me remember. I got to ask $5.
It's just what it is. It's only just call it team.
Well, I put me a note in there.
That just happened in the last 2 years, I swear. Because everybody being home or something.
Yeah, there's one.
Oh. Yeah, it's all right. They're going to get tired. You know, when it's there's work to do. Not so good.
You know any, really? Then you can order a beer.
I knew I was going to get some French fries and order a beer. How many beers I'm going to eat? I ain't just one.
Once per week, only English person on the call, 20 people. They all do English.
It's y'all gives you Water district floor down it.
Yeah.
Well, our district four is doing pretty good. I woke up this morning and I'm upright. I made it through a day at the cat zoo, and so
Everything's just peachy in your words.
it's just peachy.
How's Mr. Dent?
Just glad to be here, dear.
They say we got the problem, and it turned into a little mini road.
I like this resolution, short and sweet. Last page,
He is getting better. I mean, he's getting better.
temporary.
Oh, no, you read those.
But I went out Sunday, that was Saturday, we did Sunday, I went out there, and went down to see how bad it was.
Got all the wine.
Pretty much all right up.
I'm good with that, let's vote on that, and go home. But we need to do that before we get the rest of this tomorrow.
I worked it for a little while.
Sure.
This is slow process.
So if we vote on
Which is
this,
good for me, cause I like instant gratification.
when does it take effect?
I don't think it can impact anything
Thing
that's
that's
already
already
on the table.
something that comes before, so everything that's already been before the board.
Well, before, I think it's anything before anything that's cleared zoning and planning the committee, I don't think.
What about, I know, but I'm just saying, what about that is scheduled? That's what's already scheduled, I didn't know.
I don't think we can,
I didn't think. That should be cut. Oh, yeah, because we gotta do it on the main, but we can do it. It says approved by the Madison County Board of Commissioners on second one. I will ask.
maybe we need to table everything, but not vote on anything else, and just not have a motion or something.
I'd like to know what things are. Well, I don't know this. I don't know if we can do it. I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. I thought about that this afternoon.
Not only did they turn our signs off about the bridge, they took the signs.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I heard they were gonna take them. I heard that they were gonna do that, because they
Got the cart before the horse.
evidently.
Tell me about that conversation with John.
I hardly work for it, then I work for it.
Couldn't tell what we were at.
Oh, God. Probably a one-sided conversation, wasn't it?
I should have been listening more than
Lord.
talking.
We got,
That's always been well.
I hope having the sheriff here, that mean we got trouble going on, trouble going on. You heard it well.
I don't know.
Well, I'm certainly not gonna start this, that's for sure.
Okay.
Question for you. This is a hard question. Does it take more than a one-word answer?
On the new road policy.
Just don't listen to that first
I
song.
understand we're trying to make it. For new roads, this is nothing in the past, new roads, right?
But anything that is done from this point forward will be brought to that step.
That is, if the county decides to adopt it, or all new roads going to be adopted.
That would be all the roads, city development.
Anything with serving two houses or more. They will have to go by standards, and they will be adopted.
No, there's no.
So we will be maintaining all these county roads, I mean, all these private, clearing trees, cutting grass.
Not unless if it's built hours, the road department says
I understand why we're creating a standard. I'm just wondering if the person doesn't want it adopted by the doesn't have to do it. And we can't accept it. Well, they're gonna have to go.
Yeah. See,
either way they do it.
I got an issue, because they cut a path to 15 acres of land right beside my house. And I was just where they just took one of those choppers.
I understand why we're doing the standard.
I'm not sure that I'm gonna do that, because I think we still have to adopt. I think we say that if you're gonna build them, they gotta need to be built at. And, you know, get them adoptable, but if you don't, but then we're just, I think that's the way it is in Oklahoma. I'm not sure. I gotta ask Mike.
They lost, he said.
There's several things on there. But I don't want roads to work if, you know, if they're cutting, they're giving an easement. Like at my house, when they did it, they sold 15 acres. So that, I was wanting to build 3 houses across it. 5 acres. You know, they just side by side. But there's 15 acres behind it, right there. There was no exit. Landlocked, unless you took right beside my property line, and then the lines where they cut to shut that front, and they just 30 foot road. That's what they call it. All it is, they cut down the big trees and then something, and then chopped up all that stuff. Chopped up, and it's just growing up. It's just a mess. I understand it ain't mine. But it just, it doesn't make sense. It just, to allow somebody to do that, because it's law. It's law to be a 30-foot road. Because I ain't gonna give them 30 foot of my property. And you know, that folks over there, he's putting a fence on his, and I'm gonna put some, they're gonna put on anymore. Well, the new version of the league is like the short of the league. I'm gonna put it on the plant right down through there. And they're gonna play hex for me. Yeah, and I guess if it falls under subdivision rules, I don't know. Lots of good. What about this? So if we adopt, where we say we're gonna say two houses or whatever, private drive, and then we 6 foot. Does that mean we automatically adopt? That's what I thought.
So would you choose to adopt it up front before they spend the money on it, or do they have to do it all the time?
And here's my thinking, here's my understanding of the thinking. Unless it's a private drive specifically for family, it's going to be a catch-22. And then someone decides if they have to adopt it, then or what we should have to be done. And then I would say that you're still going to count that. Then we would say that.
So, but you know, I'm aware of the 30 foot.
And it's just, There's still a whole lot of roads, dirt roads in the area, property on the road. That's right. I was thinking we had so much,
From this point forward, if we adopt these private drives that then it's more than just adopting a road that is now you've got it. Not only the pavement, but cuts out roads, trimming trees, you know, that's the problem. Those private owners are not going to.
Again, it's not going to be a requirement for
Yeah, that's how I do mine.
things that come by.
Well, see, this is the thing.
It'll be in about 2 hours.
Okay. See, that's the house there. That road is 30 foot wide, and it's never gonna be 60 foot wide, cause then nobody, I was supposed to unless they want to buy my 41.
38. And gray headed at 38. You realize you're gonna look like
Turn blade or turn loose.
That's right. But if you met his daddy, you'd understand why. His daddy didn't go very neat. That's trim pack. That's a trim pack. Every time I get a haircut, my forehead gets bigger.
What I can't figure out is why we don't get the car fixed.
Old Trevor went up to $18, man. He's a good boy. He just talks to us. He's not making no money. He's making a hundred to get my haircut. That's only $18. If you can do this in 20 minutes, buddy, you can make $40.
I'm doing good. As I said, I woke up this morning, I'm upright.
I was shocked to see your neighbor left and went past me.
Well, we've had a few people leave cat, go to SK batteries, and then come back.
I keep hearing that.
They, some of them definitely moved.
The grass is always greener.
The benefit wasn't quite as good as the, did not exactly like the original, salt process.
I'm being told.
The way they,
I'm being told that they don't understand those standards and they don't want you to either.
they don't, yeah, and also they have a sort of a different,
What's wrong with Stanford?
Trying to get his computer, it would grab his.
Does he need to email it to you? Yes, yeah, that's
I will be.
Hopefully it works over there.
I just had to plug it in. It wouldn't, let it grab on.
We did upgrade it. It might be, who knows? It's right.
It's okay.
Oh, he went over.
Because we do. No, you have that. I can make.
Have you been?
I can make notes on it. See, I put this one on the website, but it's been updated. It's not the correct one now.
Well, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna ask Mike a question tonight when he gets here. There he is. I'm scared to, man. We ask you so many questions. I feel like I'm bothered. We're blessed.
We need a break anyway. It's all that in the paper. Right. And that's because you yeah.
I'm sorry. We're here talking.
Okay, all right.
Can't do that one.
It's only been a week, but I want to tell you thank you for at least last week.
But you can't see that part.
All right, I know all about that, yeah. I may not know much about politics, but I know this. Turn country.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think everybody knows of them. Been around for 50 years.
I did their music, they Oklahoma, North Texas. Like a God,
70s country, but a little bit more upbeat. I'm from
Oh, man, that's great.
many years ago, no county.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, so Bruce put that up.
I think I
Oh, no.
This Paul, come quick.
Yeah.
He's on stuff today.
Oh, more applications came in?
No,
Oh.
just clicking.
Okay.
That's what I said. Paul can't come quick enough. Directions can't come quick enough.
How far is that? That's right. Yeah. But we can shut the door tomorrow. Shut the door tomorrow. Yeah, we shut it. Yeah, I wish that many people rushed this way. Many of us.
Got it out of order? No. Well, I didn't know where the, numbers are. Remember you said it's back in the middle? Yeah.
But I didn't put our normal, that's 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
Yeah. That's all,
I was
that's
just
what.
looking for checking.
No worries, all right.
I don't want to brag on you in public. Everybody thinks your life can make you. Good news, she's off the other day. Said if I ever left this job, she didn't apply for it. Right. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Madison County Board of Commissioners Agenda Setting Work Session, May 2nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. I'll start off with the chairman's report for tonight. A little bit lengthy, not too much. First off, Highway 281 update. You know, we had a meeting with DOT. They were in here and they gave us a date of May 7th on that closing. That has been postponed. I got a phone call Friday, and right now they don't know exactly when it'll get through the State Appropriations Office. They're telling us it may be June 1st after school's closed. I think for the people that live in that area, you'll see that the signs have been removed and relocated to a staging section. Brennan, I meant to call you today on it. Yeah, you that guy. I meant to call you today on that, buddy. I did let Bobby know earlier today, and I think Mr. Larry is going to get the word out, and so is Rodney around the Harrison community. Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, Madison County Family Connection held an event at our rec department on the football field. And I spoke on mental health awareness and our first responders in the county. You know, this is an ever-increasing situation that was really spotlighted during COVID, was mental health, and it was a very good meeting that day. And it was also in remembrance of Ryan Melton, that had passed away just past year, who was a Family Connection director at the time. Our junior JROTC was there and presented the colors, and if you ever see these young high school kids, it's an honor to see them do what they do and how well they do it. If you have an opportunity to check out Madison County Family Connections, I would hope that you do so. On April 23rd, we had a recycle event. Over 4,000 pounds was shredded here in the county of documents. The truck comes to the Madison County. This happens twice, comes out front, and you bring any documents needs to be shredded. In that same shred event, it was a medication take-back program. That also happens twice a year. We collected 2 5-gallon buckets of medication, several containers of needles. Now, those could be insulin and everything else, but by collecting them here, kept them out of our landfills and kept our transfer stations and employees safe. So I would like to say thank you for everybody that participated in that event, because it was huge. We do have a couple locations in the county. You don't have to wait till twice a year to get rid of your medication. You can drop these off at the sheriff's office in the lobby of the jail. There's a drop-off box there, and there's also a drop-off box at Walgreens in Danielsville. Speaking with DPH, Department of Health, earlier this afternoon, they're making a big push for an overdose awareness program. We've had 7 in the past 2 weeks overdose in Madison County. Do not know the details of that. I don't know if it was prescription drugs or whatever, but putting together a program now that we'll be releasing some information on and sharing for them to make everybody aware of the overdosing situation in the county. All right. It was a lot shorter than I thought. Business involving guest groups and multiple visitors. Mr. Chris Deal, Neil Shaker.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the completion of our road study, sir.
Yes, sir. Glad to do it.
You got us to completion.
We do.
The floor is yours.
All righty. What I'd like to show y'all here is, this is the map of Madison County. And on this map, once we turn everything, the GIS girl gets with y'all and to you, you'll have this map, and on this map is all the roads that are in the county. There was a little over 500 centerline miles of pavement in the county, which also included the 6 cities that's in the county. And we rated those on that. So what you'll see here is, in this map is, like I said, it's a map, and it's a color-coded map. It shows you the different colors: the blue, the green, the yellow, and the red. Okay, those indicate, blue indicates your roads are in pretty good shape. Okay, that's 90 and above the DOT basis rating that we did, that I used to work for DOT, and so we came up with this. So, anyway, it was, like I said, blue is 90 and above, basically from 100 to a 90. Your green is anything that rates from an 89 to an 80. Your yellow is anything that rates from a 79 to a 70. And your red is anything that rates below a 70, which is a failing road by DOT standards. And so, as you can tell, I mean, overall, as far as the red goes, it's not too bad. I've got the numbers, which we call it poor. There is 46.5 centerline miles of red. So, and the pavement preservation side of things that I did in this here, that I'll show you here in a minute, is and like I said, this is everything here. These numbers I'm going to give you are pavement preservation type tech. This does not include any paving of these routes. These numbers that I'm going to give you that do not include the paving side of it, because I didn't want to, pick what you wanted to pave. This is patching, crack seals, chip seals, things like that. That's what this consists of, these numbers that I'm going to give you. In the poor range, I said at the 46 centerline miles, which is roughly 92 lane miles throughout the county, which is not bad. Right now, mainly this is a lot of patching and other things. You're looking at almost $3.5 million. And some of this surprised me a little bit. The prices have went up since I started the rating, or in the average cost, just because of what everything is going up. So you had, just looking at that, like I said, that was, even though for poor, that's a really good number in my book. Your next is fair, okay? And that is your yellows. And you can see there's quite a bit of yellow here. And the thing with yellow is, it is, by looking at the ratings, and we'll go to it in a minute, is your ratings on your fair routes with one bad winter or a few other things. These roads could go to basically poor very quickly, okay? So looking at that, in fair, you had 132 centerline miles, which equivalents to 264 lane miles. And out of that, you're looking at $8.5 million in today's dollars for, like I said, patchings and things like that. That's what it's going to take to maintain those roads, okay? Just to like I said, a pavement preservation type technique. This is not paving. Your good is you had 245 centerline miles, which will be roughly 490 lane miles. And in your good category, which like I said is from an 80 to an 89 on the rating, you're looking at $7.7 million in pavement preservation techniques to maintain these routes. And in your excellent, which is your blue, you had 200 and almost 50 centerline miles, which is equivalently 500 lane miles. So there, you only had roughly, I think there was one road when I looked back at it, and there's like $58,000 to spend. So, just to give you an instance. But for your total, for all these roads, for pavement preservation techniques, you're looking at almost $20 million to maintain these routes for pavement preservation, keeping them up to date where they are basically ready at some point for the county to, when you turn in your list, to look at paving those routes. So, you know, and that's today's dollars with the upgrades I got from the different contractors that are from the area and things like that, you know, on the pricing. Hopefully things will calm down and it'll get back to, you know, get back to normal maybe one of these days, but, that's just what you're facing, with the number of lane miles you have. Like I said, you've got a total of, I think, a little over 600, almost 674 centerline miles total. About 100, like I said, about 170 of that is your gravel roads. That in here, there's no cost to that. So you still have a cost in maintaining your gravel roads. Because like I said, when we did this rating, we only did the paved routes throughout the system. So, and all that. You got any questions on anything you want to just, I mean, that's, like I said, that's the down and dirty of it right now.
I think we're all in a sticker shock right this second.
I understand, no doubt. It is looking at prices just in the last year from when I retired with Georgia DOT and the work that we was doing, a lot of this pavement preservation, the different things that I picked for the roads as I looked at these roads, what needed to be done to these roads. You know, a little over a year ago, year and a half, you know, you're looking at half of what the cost is now. I mean, really and truly, you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, you know, you'd be looking at probably more like $10 to $12 million in the same situation. And like I said, this does not include any type of resurfacing at all in this. I mean, for the and like I said, you know, and your biggest thing is, like I said, your greens and your yellows is where, you know, like I said, you're going to want to look at your spending your dollars the most wise way, because that's where most of your mileage is. Like I said, between good and fair, like I said, you know, that's well over half of your total lane miles, centerline miles throughout the county. So I know it's a big thing. Like I said, this is a reason for the ratings. As you can see, you know, like I said, your red is what it is. A lot of this is going to be, you know, roads that need to be mainly patched, and some of them, there are a few out there that need to be reclaimed, and those are expensive to do. And there's one or two that is a couple of major thoroughfares in a couple of places, so that we can look at later on at a different time. Like I said, these here are, swap over, and I said these totals here, here we go. Here are the different, this is the ratings that occurred. This is on the poor side. That's in the red. I said you'll have the list, and in this, what'll happen is once we get everything to you, all the documentation, you'll better go on, and you'll better click on that road, and you'll better see what it rates, how it was rated, and things like that, and what the overall rating is, and the overall cost for that particular road, and all that. Like one road here, let's see, what was, just for instance, I mean, it's Charlie Bolton Lane. You may know it. It's a dead end. It's only, it's only a little over 3/10 of a mile, almost 4/10 of a mile. It's rated a 47. That is the lowest rating that you have in the county, so to speak. So, and here you're looking at, your total cost of the different pavement preservations that we added up just for that 3/10 of a mile, 4/10, for what needs to be done, which is probably mainly patching and everything, is almost $85,000. So, and all that. So this is, like I said, in each one, I said these are broke down, and like I said, poor, fair, good, and then your excellent. So your top rated roads, but and like I said, then the overall table here. So it's like I said, it is a big for this. After looking at it, I was when I came up with it and got the numbers and started looking at everything, I was like, wow, in today's real numbers. So, but that's the good thing about the T-Splosh that you have. It will help you tremendously in going toward this effort. And like I said, there's a lot of things we can do with this information that will help you, go here and look at what you have, look at the look at all the roads that you have, and like I said, decide, okay, what do we want to do here? And like I said, that way you can all look at it. I'll go back to the map, and you can see what's important to you. And like I said, the big thing is you have a rating. You have something to go by for the citizens of the county that will say, this is why we're doing what we're doing to this route at this time. It's no matter where you're at, you can say, well, hey, this road's in good shape, and but like I said, your yellows and your greens is where what I'm seeing with what you have, and what I did with DOT. I did the same thing. Our routes were in similar situations, and we took it and we looked at the scores. Then we went to the scores and we said, okay, what do we got to spend here? And that's how we move forward. And by doing that and looking at those routes, we were able to make a big adjustment just in with these pavement preservations and things like this, that I was spending the HB 170 money on the state routes. The mediums and highs, or the the fair and the good here is basically our mediums and highs that we have at DOT. That was our bulk of our roads. That was the main thoroughfares that we looked at, and that's where we spent most of our money, because that's where it needed to be spent. Because, like I said, these roads in yellow, you take too long, and they're going to turn into red, and this price could substantially go up. I mean, looking at some of these, there's a lot of roads in yellow that right on that 70 to 75 score, and that's the critical area. That's where you really want to see at these scores and what you may need to do to some of these routes. Like I said, overall, a lot of it's patching and things like that you would want to do to, like I said, basically maintain them and keep them from getting any worse. So, like I said, and all that. But that's what you have. This is what we've done, and like I said, we'll be getting this. The GIS person will be getting everything over to y'all. And like I said, this interactive map. You'll better go in and click on it, and it'll pull up the different information. You'll better sort it and things like that. And we'll, whatever little tweaks we need to do to it that will help y'all with this, y'all, just let us be more than glad to help you work through this. Like I said, this is not a one and done deal. It's, you know, we're here to serve y'all, so, and all that, but that's.
Chris?
Yes, sir.
For the ones that's not here, and for Zach and for the rest of the community of the county, give us a little bit of update, like, on the Madison County roads versus some of the other counties, why this was so challenging, you know, for you in the time frame wise.
It's like, I rated Greene County first. Greene County is one of the first roads I did, for Byron Lumbar and them down there. You know, like their county, they had they only had 270 centerline miles, so they were about half of what you have. And after talking to him, Byron and them, the county, Greene County, they were at about $3 to $4 million a year. That's what he told us when we sat down and presented him the same thing. And when I sat down with him, you know, and looked, when I rated the county, the red wasn't that bad. You know, the red wasn't bad. I said, he didn't quite, you know, you got more lane miles in you know, you almost got as many lane miles in good as he has total, if that tells you anything. You know, this is a big county. You know, a lot of, you know, and like I said, a lot of open spaces. There's, like I said, there's a lot of things you can do, but, you know, that was a good thing. And as I wrote his roads, but that's what he was, that's the way that's the technique they took. They looked at it, and then after that, by having this and after looking at it, he was saying, well, now I can go and do some of these other type treatments that will buy me more time and, you know, and get me to where, especially with prices the way they are, you know, he's in a good situation. I just started rating Monroe County last week. Similar county, over 500 centerline miles. I've got 2 days in it last week, and real similar situation. And I'm seeing the same things. The good thing is like I said, when we drill down this, like I said, there's a lot of things that we can do. I know the number sounds big, but there is a lot of things with certain routes that you have through the system that you can go in and do these pavement preservation with the ADTs and the stuff. You know, I don't know what they are, but as I'm riding them, I can tell. I mean, there was times I've been on the road and, you know, I might pass one car, and I might pass none. I mean, that's just the way it was. And others, of course, it was, as y'all know, the major thoroughfares, and it was like, and you got to look at those too. I'm not saying this, even the stuff that's in blue, you got to at some point, because you have a range. That's your most mileage that you have, which is 250 centerline miles, 500 lane miles. Even though it's blue, doesn't mean that you don't want to do something to it. Because when you do some of these pavement preservation techniques to these routes, especially when they get in the low blue and then the early stages of the green of the scores, the upper, what I call 85 and above, you know, there's minor things you can do there that cost you a lot less money that make that route last longer. And I mean, it's, you know, with the ratings and all that, the crack seals and the surface treatments and things like that we did, it bought us a lot of time and it saved us a lot of money. Because on a surface treated road, and you have a lot of them, I've rode every one of them, and you know, those roads there, hey, they are roads that was probably done 25 or 30 years ago. Okay, they don't have a lot of traffic on them, but they're in need of things. So using some of these surface treatment techniques and things like that, you don't have to pave everything, because the roads, even the roads are in good shape to a point. They need a little bit of patching, but they need to be sealed. And once you do that, that same road that's been out there, that's the same type of 25 or 35 years old, will give you another 10 to 15 years down the road. And that's what you're looking for. That's because of what you're looking at, you know, and these numbers that you're looking at right now, today's prices. You know, gas and everything goes back down, then, you know, we'll better probably bring that down, like I said, maybe 15 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. But, you know, it's an opportunity to, you know, I said, go out here, treat the routes you have, the ones that are right there on the break of going to yellow. There's a lot of things we can do.
Kurt, just to, not everybody in here understands paving, and, you know, and I've been briefed on it a little bit more than these guys have. By color, could you tell them a treatment process by color? And maybe what that process is. When you're saying sealing, a lot of people think that means going in and individually crack sealing the little cracks, where you're talking about a different process.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's several different processes. Like all your surface treated roads that I've seen, what I've seen out of them, probably 90 to 95% of the, we can filter this. Like if I go, once we get everything to you, we'll better we can come back and show you. We'll go in and say, okay, we'll pull up all the surface treated roads. We'll pull everything that's surface treated, and we'll look at that. We'll look at what I put in there that I think you need to do that route to get you a longer life out of it. Like I said, the color codes on here, like I said, is strictly by the rating itself, the number it falls in, and we can tweak with little things. But you know, the biggest thing is, the good thing about this is, like I said, we can go in the spreadsheet that you'll have and everything else. You'll better go in and filter. I want to see all the roads that are in yellow that rate between a 70 and a 79, and it'll pull them all up, and it'll show you the road. It'll give you the road list. It'll give you what needs to be done to that route, and give you the score, so you can kind of tell what it is and where you need to go.
So from my understanding, if it's in red, potentially yellow, it can be looked at as far as reclaiming and repaving, but potentially a green to a blue couldn't necessarily be sealing.
Roughly. Yeah, roughly. I mean, a lot of this is patching. I would say a lot of just knowing some of the roads that I know throughout the county, you know, you take like, let's see, I can't, on this particular map, I can't click, I don't think it pulls it up, no. The Nice Commerce Road, okay, I'll just take that for instance. There's sections of it that are green, there's sections of it that are yellow, that I know just by looking at the map here. And what I can tell you is that's one of your major thoroughfares. It's a major cut through from 106 north, and you know, seeing a lot of traffic on it. You know, that section of it that's in yellow, you know, it's pushing issue. There's one section that's pretty good. Then there's another section in between that I think is in yellow there, and it's, you know, it needs patching. I mean, the road was, I would say the road's probably been paved 5 to 6, 7 years ago, and there's some sections that I can tell was paved sooner, and, you know, so just going in and just doing the patching alone, I mean, will help the longevity of that road. You know, just crack sealing. Crack sealing is one of the cheapest things you can do out there. You know, it was about 50 cents a square yard. When I was doing crack sealing, it was about we would go out with crack sealing for about $2,400 a lane mile. Now it's $3,200 a lane mile from the last, well, you know, just to show you the difference, about $700 difference per mile from, like I said, a year and a half ago to now, and the last price that I've got. So, you know, those techniques are, like I said, that's what we can look at a later time. But there's all those little things, I said, when you're looking at this type of dollars, those are the things that really help you out, you know, and give you what you need. And I said, you know, and you still, I said, there's still this here. And, you know, and you're mainly looking at your roads in yellow is where where you really got to, you know, if they're the major thoroughfares and they're the roads that, you know, that needs to be resurfaced, then that's what you do. I mean, that's the technique you use depending on the ADD and those things. So, and that's what we need to look at in the future about what needs to be done on these.
So,
what's the time that we'll have that for further analysis and you can help us with it? I just, a time frame, is that gonna be like another week or?
Yeah, I mean, less than a week,
Less than a week.
and everything. I just wanted to, she sent this to me, and I said, I was gonna talk to Todd and y'all a little bit more, and if you want me to send the shape files back to the GIS person, she can send them there, and then he can give it to y'all, and then you'll have this info and this data.
I think we're gonna end up having one more roundtable amongst us.
Right.
Due to the bidding process, we've got to be pretty quick on this move, to where if we can get the information to the board members, at least the map, understand the map, let them get questions that may not be addressed here tonight.
Right.
Get a clarity on those, and then that way, this board can start picking what they need to do. Now, one thing I will say, probably the first time ever, is having a map like this gives us a better option picking and choosing which roads get it done, because you know, in every county, you hear, why did they pave that road? It didn't need it, or it's because somebody lived on it. This is more of a, there it is, this is why.
Yep, that's correct. It gives you that option, and lets you know where you stand and where you start looking at what you have. I mean, your roads in red, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some roads that need to be reclaimed, and that's costly. I mean, and things like that. There's things you can do, patching some of them, doing that, to get you, that gets them in better shape than what they are, which really brings the score up. But believe it or not, when you do patch and do some of these things, it actually brings the score up when you do that. So, but yes, yeah, I said, I said, I'll get with her and we'll get everything over to them. That way y'all can look at a little bit more detail. That way y'all can see everything, that's here, see the score, see the map, and, better click on it and look at everything that you want to look at. And then, like I said, whatever you need me to do.
But realistically, we were speaking between the T-Splosh generation and the OMEG generating of money. We have a good opportunity in 5 years to basically get 3/4 of this county under control. Where right now it's completely out of control in a way.
That's right. I agree. I mean, you've got the opportunity. You know, that's what I did with DOT. Of course, my budgets were higher. You know, I was spending about $11 million a year in pavement preservation type techniques. And just to give you an instance, in the district I was in, we had a $25 million resurfacing budget, but I had 6,600 lane miles to maintain. So, out of that $25 million on the resurfacing side, it only got me about 150 to 180 lane miles a year. And by the pavement preservation stuff that you can do, that and there's a lot you can do in this county, is, you know, with $11 million, with all the different techniques that we're using, we were getting 350 to 450 lane miles a year, just depending on what we did. So, you know, like I said, big opportunity there, and can share that with y'all. But yes, with everything, with your LMIG and your T-Splosh coming, you know, you have a great opportunity here. Even though the number looks big, you know, you'll better take care, the stuff that's in green and the stuff that's in blue, you'll better do the minor techniques to make them last a little longer, because when you HWA and all those different type of techniques, they all give you, depending on what you do, they give you a certain time frame. And when you can take a road that's in green, that depending on the route, you know, if you go out, say you crack seal and you do a little patching, well, by sealing that road off and keeping the water from penetrating it and doing the normal patching you have to do, is, you know, you've just added probably five years to that route. Where if you did nothing to it at that time, when it was in the, say, low 80s, mid to low 80s in that score, because that's where that score range is, and you waited till it got to yellow, then you're going to have twice the patching. And that's kind of what I see, you know, with your roads in yellow. You know, there's a lot of things to do, which is costly. That's one of the most costly things. It's actually, it costs you almost as much to patch a road as it does to pave one.
But I guess just to conclude it, I mean, as far as that, those, you're gonna go over with our road department and everybody in detail over this so that we get good suggestions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, we're gonna get that worked out. Yes, sir.
Chris, in your database, do you have the roads mapped by, or designated by minor arterial, major arterial? I mean, are the road classifications there that, that is part of the database?
We did not rate it that way. No, sir.
Okay, so it's not a field, it's just identified.
We can take, if I get a list, we can take if you give me a list of how you wanted it done in that rate, we can add that to this and give you those different ones. The GIS person can do that. That should be no problem. We'll be willing to do that.
Do you recall what we estimated our T-Splotch?
13 million.
A year?
No,
No.
total with 5 years.
5 years.
But you have another about $1 million per year available. So you have potentially $18 million over a 5-year period. So, as I stated, you'll still always have catch-up to do, but at least we'll be in the majority of the 85 to 90% range at the end of 5 years. We'll be way in front of the game.
I think that's optimistic, but.
That's very optimistic.
Yeah, right.
Because you still got some paving to do, and
That's right.
it's gonna eat into it.
Yes.
The reason I ask about the road classification is hopefully that I'm looking at this as a tool, and we can develop, a long-term plan that we can go see some of your former bosses and some of those at the Gold Dome and at the district office and lay out a plan. So when there is neighboring counties and other communities that have failed to move some projects, happens all the time, they look for other people in the district, so who's ready, and having some of these techniques and plans available.
That's right.
Is critical to say we're ready and this is why.
That is correct. That is correct. And that's where this will come from. It'll give you a plan. You'll better break it down, like in those different colors and, the lane miles and what the cost is. And, like I said, you can have that and look at it and go from there. That's why this tool is so critical to what you're trying to do.
And I'm not hard, I know it sounds like I am, but it's just that road classification to me is important, because when you do go to the district or you talk to the commissioner or your board member and those things, it's one thing. So we need some money to pay some subdivision roads. It's critical. It's a lot different conversation when you say this is, these are major arterial roads or minor arterials that get to and from our schools, and those kind of, for, safety purposes, it makes it, and you know that.
That's right. Yeah, it's on the LMIG side, you get what you get, and, by having this updated map and having the GIS and having your lane miles, if it's with everything that you got, it ensures that you're going to get the maximum amount from LMIG because of the mileage. We check the mileage and compared to what you had, and so, like I said, it's critical to have that, and, because like I said, even dirt roads can be, as you know, under LMIG, so, but yes, if I can get a list of which roads you want, and, that way, if it's, however that is, can tweak that a little bit and give you some of that.
In your survey, did y'all do any drone survey to an area like the Nice Commerce Road there, an area that you may pick up as this is why we want to do this, just as an example for the layman to see this would be an area we would patch. If you took a mile of that road, this would be an area we'd patch.
Right.
This would be resurfaced. This would be sealed.
Under each survey and under each road, the way I rated the roads the way they were paved the last time. So they're broken. Some was paved all the way through, and that's where they're rated. But a lot of them are broken down into, even some of the longer ones, a couple of mile increments. And what you do have is pictures of the beginning, like for pavement markings. If the road has any type of pavement markings, I took a picture at the beginning and the end of the route. If it's a long route, you may have a third one somewhere in the middle. It kind of tells you basically good, fair, or poor on your pavement markings. It's just a picture. But that's the same thing with the other ratings, like block tracking, and the thing that the way it was rated, there'll be a picture alongside that. Now, the ratings were done is in the increments you know, what I did is, you know, you may have a small area of some bad stuff that was, say, on the severity, because everything was basically rated on a severity 1, 2, and 3 kind of deal. That's the way ACES rating is done. And you may have some severity 2, which was some pretty good alligator cracking that was really close to being patched, but it wasn't the majority of the route, okay? So I rated the route as, it might have rated a severity 1, but the percentage was higher on that block cracking. And like I said, we'll get into those details more, but, and share with y'all more, once we can get into this. But, you know, that's kind of how it was done. But overall, I said, now if it's severity 2, like I said, that's what you're going to find in a lot of your red and yellows, probably a lot of it was severity 2 or severity 3 block cracking, which means you usually got quite a bit of patching. And what I've seen, most of your patching is kind of like anything else. You know, you can just about bank on, you're going to patch about 1/4 of every mile that's out there, if it needs to be patched. That's just what I've seen. Most of it, you know, 6 foot wide, you're going to take care of all the issues and move on from there. Yes.
Chris, real quick, I wanted 2 things. One, cities roads were in this, those dollar figures included the city roads.
Yes, it did.
They'll have a portion of it, which is the good thing is I'm sitting here looking at the map, and Comer looks like they're in really good shape except for maybe one road.
Yep.
Culvert's the same way. They got a lot of blue and green in culverts. So hopefully T-Splash will generate enough to put all of our cities in really good shape.
Yes, I think so. I mean, for the most part, I mean, Comer, Carlton, I mean, it does, I mean, you know, it's small down here, Colbert and Comer there, and Hull, you know, Hull, as you can see down here in the bottom, some of their stuff, got quite a bit of yellow, and all that. I think, Isla was in decent shape, had a few kind of good mixture there. Danielsville, the same thing. You know, it's kind of a good mixture there. So I think with what they've got, it'll really help them. And like I said, and we'll say this is just the overall. This has all that in there. And like I said, we will pull those numbers out. This was just as a whole, as a county, as a whole.
So this is the last thing, and only because I got people here, and it's been the latest Facebook post, and I've been tagged in 20 times. Can you go to the other screen and look at Drake Woods Road? I'm just curious to how you rated it. It does have a major issue in it. We know, but I'd just like to hear what the overall rating of Drake Woods Road is.
Let me see. I don't know if I can actually pull it up. I hope so.
And we know that roads, and just speaking while you're looking, you know, like Lynn Edwards, we know it's going to be a complete rebuild. It's not really anything to do with pavement preservation at all.
That's right.
But touching on something me and you had spoke about was, we talk about pavement preservations versus pavement, repaving, is we have a potential of looking at about $3 a foot versus $13 a foot. And when you see that the pavement preservation strategy is going to work on 65 to 70% of our county roads, you also know that you're able to save a little money to go towards that paving. Is the reason I was being optimistic a minute ago.
That's right. No doubt. I'm not sure. Drake. I'm not sure which one it falls under. Let me see if it's under this one. Drake Woods.
Trying to search control out.
So
it was red on the map.
not knowing which it fell under is going to be the tough part.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be the,
It was under red earlier?
Yeah, it was on the map as red,
Okay.
okay,
if I read the map correctly.
right,
That was just, you know, the most recent hot topic.
I got you.
Yeah,
We all make this available to the public?
absolutely.
Drake
see it,
Woods,
yeah,
right
third
there.
one from the bottom.
Drake Woods, from Jotham down to Hudson. Let's see, that road is almost 3 miles. And let me go here, so I can scroll across. Total cost for what I put in there right now is about $85,000.
Okay.
And like I said, that would probably mainly patching and things like that, because I didn't pick it to, like I said, to resurface it or anything like that, so, that we don't have those numbers as far as the resurfacing. Like
The most recent pictures that I've seen, it obviously didn't develop overnight. It's been going on for a while, but
Mhm.
it does look like a water standing issue, which I've got water standing, because you can tell by the way it's alligated in a certain area that water's not being shed properly.
Right, yeah. I mean, it rates a 64 overall, on that end, so, it's, yeah, it was, I would say that is probably more of nothing but a patching number, really close.
Okay.
Right now.
Well, thank you. Any other questions? Chris, I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for
y'all.
the job you've done. We'll look for this
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday, next week.
Yeah, I mean, who do you want me to send it to you? Do you?
I'll be sending it to Christina.
Oh, Christina?
She'll distribute it out to everybody.
Okay.
I'll email tomorrow,
Okay.
our GIS mappers email and stuff.
Okay, and, send me a couple emails, and then what I'll do is I'll get Meredith to send everything over.
Okay, that'll work.
All right, thank you all very much.
You can hang out with us if you want, but I doubt so.
If we choose to go down this path, right, as we do upgrades on the road, is software something that will upgrade the road based on water entry or whatever we do? Yeah, that's a way that they.
He's asking, is there a way for us to show the completion on your mapping so you can upgrade from one color to the other? So with 5 years from now, we know what our map looks like, based off the upgrades. Is it adjustable?
It can be.
As long as we give you information.
Right, that's right, because now, I mean, this is a rating of how it was from basically the end of January till April 1st, so, when I did the rating, I think on the spreadsheet, you would be able to go in there and as whatever you did those roads, you could show that on the spreadsheet. I'm pretty sure you can do that. And now whether, you'll have the GIS to a point, but I don't know that it'll allow you to, the system will allow you to change your map every time.
Okay.
But I think the spreadsheet will. But we'll.
At least it'll be something we could possibly submit to you all.
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
Okay.
The shape file ought to be editable, so whether it's under his shop or if our capabilities, somebody can make that update and then make revisions of the GIS.
That's right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you,
y'all.
sir.
Appreciate y'all.
Next up, Brennan Baird. Yeah, just you.
I'll just make sure I ain't blocking everybody's view, because I'll take up a lot of space on that.
It's brief on that screen, so you're not holding anything back.
Yeah, right. If it falls, at least I'll give it a good landing. So I didn't have a lot of time to prepare I guess a formal response, because I wasn't sure exactly what we wanted to ask or clarify. So we'll touch a few of the high points on where we stand on the radio system implementation, and then if you have questions, we'll try to cover it that way. I guess it's the easiest way to do it. So as with any project, the former director, when he was preparing to retire, said, I know this needs to be done, but I'm not doing it. I know why. It's a pain. And there's a lot to it. The technology rapidly evolving and ever changing, it makes things difficult at times. So as we've started building out the system, as with any project, you'll find some issues. We've been able to overcome most of those issues and implement some creative ways to fix some problems. We're able to tie the the VHF digital frequencies that we now have to the old VHF analog frequencies for purposes of paging for fire, for EMS, first responders, rescue, etc. There's a permanent patch that Motorola came up with, and we were actually the first one in the United States to have access to it. Didn't cost us any extra, where those are permanently patched on the software side and not at the console levels. So those are linked together until the analog stuff just doesn't work anymore. But for now, I imagine in my working lifetime, that's probably going to stay the way it is. There's originally when we built this out, the transmit site for the radio system was over at the primary tower site, which is by EMS. That's still the case. Because of our topographical county having some issues with some low-lying areas, some high-lying areas, which most of them we knew about ahead of time. We have added, originally it was a one talk out, three talk in site. We've added 2 sites to that to help with some of the coverage for the portables with watch max. The car radios were 40 plus, so we don't have any issues with those talking in from here to Gainesville or Madison on I-20. We've talked those as far away as that. We have had a few issues with the actual dispatch console, the CAD screen itself that controls the radio traffic, phone traffic coming in. So there are up to 30 inputs at any given time, and sometimes those overwhelm headset. So we've worked with Avtech and Motorola, and as of Wednesday, they've brought a brand new system out and replaced what we originally put in with one that they had tried and tested on numerous occasions and have been very successful over the years. So we don't have any of the USB ports anymore. Now it's all AP or at the point of talking where everything is translated into the NINA switches.
Right. Can we have whoever's in all move on? Thank you.
On the dispatcher side, that didn't change, except it works more definitively with the phone and the radio interacting with each other. So again, they've lost money on that set, but that's not my issue. As long as it works when we need it to and works like we need it to, then I'm okay with that. We've connected those for paging. The biggest issue that we have right now is what everybody else has, is lead time on radios. If we order new radios or try to get a hold of some new radios, it creates quite a hassle. Most of the radios that we have somewhere between 22 and 200 little microchips in them. Microchips used to buy $2 a piece. On this project, were $200 a piece, and you got to go through a broker to get them. So I could order a radio and get a radio in my hand in about 2 weeks. Now we're looking at about 7 months. And that's true for Motorola, for Kenwood, for Harris. You know, apparently Taiwan's the only place in the world that knows how to make microchips, and they control the bullet. So that's created a little bit of an issue for us, but we're going to deal with that and make something happen and get what we need to get so we can still operate. Everybody else has that same issue. Clark County's had that same issue getting their hands on radios lately as well. So we do have some upgraded versions that we can get. Mobilecom is our vendor for that. Just sent a guy to Arizona to pick up 26 radios. They're the 7500 where we have a 3500. So the cost is a little more, but they're going to eat that because we got to have them and they can't get the other ones. So as soon as he gets those back, he'll program those up and we'll get those out to Corner, Nice, Rescue, and I don't know if anybody, EMS had 4 that was ordered. So those will be rocking right along. So I think that's the high points of where we are on the radio implementation. There are a few things left to do that we want to do to complete that project. Generators at each of the sites that are online using that radio system as microwave, as wireless internet to connect all of those so we can control those, have those site controls and monitor them. Same thing with air conditioning units that also do remove the condensation stuff. So We've upgraded significantly on the technological side. There's one, project, and that's the event logger or voice recorder for all of the incoming radio and phone traffic. At some point, as hard as that is to believe, that's about 18 to 20 grand. So we're gonna make the one we have last as long as we can, and then we'll go from there. But otherwise, we're 100% complete on the install and the functionality, and we're just tweaking the equipment and systems to make sure it works like it's supposed to.
Yeah, everything's expensive now.
The cost for the radios when we started were about $570 a piece, now they're $13. So we're going all day long to $200 a piece, and you gotta find a broker that can buy it, so.
I think Mark Perry made a comment the other day, what a new fire truck costs.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It passed that 3/4 mark.
Oh, yeah, I'm shocked it ain't broke the one bill.
Any questions, gentlemen?
Brandon, when we voted to approve this, I was adamant, and still adamant, you can call it a final report or whatnot, but between you, fire, and EMS, I'd like it doesn't have to be 20 pages, it's just some sort of conglomerate of, is implemented.
Right.
Everybody's, whatever the expectation was, is working what we thought it would work, or if there's a shortcoming that we need to address, good group. I just feel it's important, the money that we spend, that we need to make sure all our units are working together on this, please.
I agree with you on that.
So, I guess this board needs to set a date on that, because if we don't, we'll be talking about this next year. So let's just say, sometime by August 1st, gives y'all 2 or 3 months to try to get together, because I know it's sort of hard to work out between rescue and EMS and fire.
I can get with Bobby pretty much any time.
Yeah.
He's not me, it's too hard to find. A lot of the volunteer departments have tons of other jobs going on, so they do a hard to schedule around schedule. But with Mark and Jason and being here and JD, I'm sure they can get somebody from each department to write up something I don't think needs to be changed. Any of those things, you can get that to me, and we'll see if we can address them and get everybody on the same page and a final say-so.
Can you go from the fire departments have any comments in general after the first report you made many months ago? I thought everything was really good then, and then when I talked to the fire department folks, obviously that was not the case. In general, from the fire department, most of the issues that were problematic at that time, have they been corrected, or do we still have some big holes that need to be repaired?
All in all, it's much improved, and we really appreciate y'all's willingness to jump into that as big a part as it was. Motorola gave us about a 95% coverage on a portable, and I figure that's more like 75% on a portable. We had a countywide meeting in Carlton at the Carlton Baptist Church in April, and nobody could talk from that building. We had a call at Watson Mill on Saturday. Mobiles we didn't have any problem, with, but talking back from down in the river on a portable, you couldn't hardly do that. So, but Carlton Fire Department reported they had pretty good coverage outside. You get down in the river there. It's not a portable area, but it does good. The biggest single complaint we had was the slight variance in audio, where if you have your radio turned on, where you can hear everybody but one dispatch console, and that one blows you out of the water, so it's a little bit hard to keep your radio in. And I know you've heard that more than once.
I have. Well, I'll start at the beginning. I hadn't heard anything about the river around Watson's Mill, Miami, because we have coverage maps that are guaranteed. There's not coverage, they'll fix it.
Well,
so if
we
somebody
have
see that back there, we'll address that one.
On Broad River.
Yeah. Now, over around Roy Woods, that's an issue we've always had. We knew we would have that issue, but
we had good coverage from the 281 bridge until we went under the 172
Yeah,
bridge.
right there around 172 up to that bend.
That
you're
ran out
talking
down
to
there, you know, as far as full coverage, but, Jason can't talk from his house, so, inside the house.
There is some degradation of coverage using a VHF versus UHF.
Right.
The advantage of VHF, the reason we went that direction is because that's got a lot more coverage over a lot longer range. So a 4 or 5 talk site VHF versus a 13 to 15 site UHF is what we're looking at.
Well, I know the sheriff's department, you know, experiencing some coverage issues
They do.
on a 4,
They do.
you know, whether that's going to more sites or,
Right.
you know, we have, 99% of the time the radio's quiet. But when everybody's using it, and it's always at the same time, you know, everybody wants to
It's
talk.
different 99% on our side, 99% of the time it won't shut up.
Well, it's most of the time,
Yeah.
it's fairly quiet, but everybody wants to talk at the same time.
That's right.
We get a few busies,
Yeah.
and that might, you know, be something. But it's, overall, everybody feels like it's a significant improvement over what we had in the old system.
Right.
And, but, you know, there's a few little odds and ends that need to be addressed.
Could we, and I always say August 1st, but could we take and use July the 1st, which is basically 60 days out, ask y'all to get together, and also, let's try by then to put a survey together of where we may have some shortcomings, that'll give them the opportunity for y'all to talk and get it all in one place at one time, and let's target 60 days after that, working with our vendor and their support services.
Right.
To come up with at least an action plan of what we're gonna do to fix.
Well,
Is that, does that sound
And
fair?
let me, and I don't think, and I haven't shared this with anybody else, but we actually had them, not last week, but the week before, we actually converted, one of our old sites behind the whole Sanford School into a talk-in. And what we have done, the amount of inability to talk on the portable has been significantly reduced. So now we've got the one in Pokey, which was not part of the original, site. The one in Carlton is a talk-in and talk-out, which they've replaced the microwave link there twice, because as you know, with COVID, nobody apparently in the world. So those Cambiums they took out and put a 5 gig in. We'll get those back on Monday. He's waiting on the tower crew to get a date to come replace that. So they turn Carlton back into not just a receive site, but a talk-in and talk-out site. So any issues that may be over there should be resolved. The amplifier on the transmitter at the main tower there at EMS has been turned back up to where it was 120. The FCC was giving us some sweat on that, but we've got a waiver, so there should be even more coverage inside of the buildings that you may or may not have had some issues on before. Today, been dealing with Mobilcom today. We're looking at a site over somewhere near that Roy Woods post to try to find a place to put a what you call a cradle point, which is an internet-based or a phone-based radio tower site. To repeat that out without having to build an actual tower there. But we knew that was going to be an issue. That place has always been an issue because I don't care where you are anywhere except there, you're talking to dirt. I mean, it's a real low spot. You're not going. I mean, your phone won't work, your radio ain't gonna work, holler real loud, somebody close my ear. That's about what you got. With mobiles, plenty of power to talk out. You don't have a problem with that, but who's gonna do it? So we're working on that one. That one we knew was gonna be an issue. But those coverage maps, I can get to see, I can also get the refined ones. And if there's an area that it says they'll have coverage and they don't, they'll fix it.
So it'd be a fair statement to say you may be the chiefs, I see Jason and JD and everybody, take the next meeting and say, okay guys, where can't you get out at or where can't you receive, compile that list, and then Brennan can get it over to these guys over a period of time, just like Dennis said, and maybe we'll get some resolve out of it. You know, we're too far in and out to have something that only works.
No.
Well, I say great, you know, 95% better than it did, but we still gotta get that last 5%.
It's the 5% that doesn't get to answer the call that's the problem. I mean, at the end of the day, and their commitments, prior to to, and right when I came on board as a commissioner, from the folks from Motorola or whatever, saying what they were gonna do and how long it was gonna take to do it. And here we are. Forgive me, but we're 18 months into this, and we still talk about it, and I appreciate you putting into it. But at the end of the day, we still got holes in the system that folks told us they was gonna patch it. And that's all we want. And I want to make sure I'm fair with everybody saying this, so here again, 60 days gives you all the opportunity to get with Brendan, identify the areas where we've got shortcomings or problems, and then have the vendors tell us what they're gonna do to fix it.
Right. I mean, 60 days, if we can get it to me right quick, I expect them to have it done in 60 days.
We're gonna make commitments we can't keep, so I'm gonna say that you can ask Mr. Pruitt right there. I tend to remember stuff like that when it says to me.
I agree with you, and I'll tell you this, Mobilecom is in no way, shape, or form ever said, nope, we can't do that. If I call him tomorrow and said, this is a problem, he'll have somebody down here tomorrow working on that. Wow. But I gotta get him, I know it's a problem before we work on it.
So you're gonna get that to them right quick, right? Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Brendan.
Yeah, thank you so
So
much.
we'll put the test and the effort you put into it.
Yeah. That's all right, I can lose too many nights of sleep.
Michael, appreciate the backup.
Thank y'all.
Way back up, by the way. This is a work session, we can speak freely. Mitchell Hill. Thank you, gentlemen, for everything you do.
Thank y'all.
Before I get into the gist of what I want to say, I want to say thank you to all of you guys for the time and effort that you put in serving our county. I know that all of you probably enjoy being at home with yours, but you're not. You're down here taking care of county business. I personally appreciate what y'all do and the effort that y'all put into service. Second, thank you is for your time tonight to let me come and make a short presentation to you. I'll try to be brief. Hopefield Incorporated is a new nonprofit corporation that's been formed recently in the county, and it came about from a meeting that was held back in August out at the Jackson EMC office to discuss the need for emergency housing in Madison County. Right now, there is no emergency housing in Madison County. As a matter of fact, there's a dire shortage of affordable rental housing in the county. But for an example, if Todd's house were to burn down today while he's here at this meeting, there's nothing to go in the county tonight to sleep. Can't even check into a hotel.
I'm going to Terry's. He's seen his house.
Come on in.
Not even a hotel in the county. Burns down the Red Cross will come out. Used to, they would assist you in getting a motel room, getting some food and some clothing and what have you. But because of COVID and other shortages of staff and what have you, my understanding is now they come out and hand you a gift card with a few dollars on it and wish you good luck. So our goal is to provide an emergency shelter in case of an emergency of any kind, fire, windstorm, any kind of crisis that a person finds themselves into where they're without a house. Now, we're not talking about homeless because you choose to be homeless. We're talking about emergency situations where you need a place to stay short notice immediately. Is one goal. Second goal is, according to federal standards, there's 112 students in our school system that classify as homeless. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have some place to sleep. They don't have a rest sleep every night. They may sleep at one friend's house one night, another friend's house the next night, may even sleep in their car one night if they don't have a friend that they can stay with. So another goal we have is to provide some kind of housing to students that are considered to be homeless. And we know that there's a lot of cases where people fall into that category, and they take advantage of that situation because it's a federal government-funded project. So there'll be some qualifications involved as to when they would qualify for assistance. Because of the fact that this is going to be a time-consuming and costly venture to be able to provide housing, we have tried to come up with some interim, short-term situations. And hopefully we've got some pretty good leads on some of this where we could have a family that maybe owns a home that is not being used. Parents have passed away, but family still owns it. And if they would be willing to basically give us use of that home for 5 years, we'll renovate it, we'll pay the taxes, we'll pay the insurance for the use of it. This gives us some time to buy some property, get some houses built, buy some existing houses, raise funds to do all of that with. Students is a little different situation because a student that's 15, 16 years old is not responsible. They can't sign a lease, they can't, a lot of different legal aspects you run into with students. Our avenue of short-term situation there, in lieu of group homes, which take a lot of expense, is to have a network of host families where their children are all out on their own and they have 2 or 3 extra bedrooms that's not being used, but they would be willing to take a student in to live with them for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks or something until some arrangements can be made for some type of permanent situation. Telling y'all that, and you may know of someone that would have something that we could use in the way of a house, might want to volunteer as a host family, might want to make a monetary donation. Then Hope Healing Incorporated is a nonprofit corporation. We have nonprofit status from the IRS, already assigned. So we've been through all of that process. It's a totally volunteer operation. It's a 9-member board of directors. Nobody draws from any pay. As a matter of fact, the 9 board members have footed the bill for forming the corporation, getting tax exempt status. Everything's been done so far has been done with donations from people that just wanted to help us. We're glad to take any donations. We can give you a tax exempt or tax write-off receipt. As far as what you can do as a board, provide us some funds from somewhere. Y'all have access to get grant money for various different things that we probably would not have as a separate corporation. So if any of y'all know of any kind of grant funds that would be available to us, we'd appreciate any help that y'all could give us on applying for grants, whatever you could do.
Mitchell, thank you. Would it be appropriate to have your cell phone number in public? Because obviously I'd love for Zach, somebody reading his article, to be able to contact you, or an email address for somebody in the office.
Well, let me do this. I've got just a few business cards. I was going to print some more and I didn't. But because of the situation we get in at times, we don't want to necessarily give out individuals' personal phone numbers.
I agree. So an email address to Zach, so he's got
we have established an email address, and if somebody calls that number, they'll get a recording, and myself and one other board member gets a text, an email that says whatever that message was. It translates and puts it into an email. So we can in turn respond to that email. But we don't have to give out personal phone numbers.
I understand.
Just as an example of what we're trying to do, 2 weeks ago, Thursday afternoon, I was getting ready to go out of town for few days, and I get an email, phone dings, and there's a lady that lives over around Coffee house about 2 weeks earlier. She was living in a hotel somewhere, I don't know where at, and was desperately needing a place to live. And I got on the phone, I made about 5 or 6 phone calls to no results, finding a house that was available for rent or anything. So, because I was going out of town, I had to try else. And, I don't know whether she found any place or not, but stuff like that can happen at a moment's notice. And we feel like there needs to be some means of having a place available for that type of situation.
Mitchell, I will be proud to tell you, myself, Tracy Patrick, and Christopher Roach did help that young lady, and she does have a place.
She does have, well, good, I'm glad that.
She reached out to our office, come in personally. Tracy was, and Christopher was fully involved with the situation, called me down, and we made preparations for her to have a place to sleep.
Good, thank y'all.
And it's a situation that we will be addressing in the coming months, as there was an ordinance issue. She had an insurance check to rebuild her home.
Yeah.
But it was,
yeah.
She had used her hotel allotment, but in 2 weeks she couldn't get a place rebuilt.
Right.
There's nothing to rent. So, Mitchell, thank you so much. I've probably known you 35 years, and I'm very proud of what you've done and your board that you put together. I think this is it's a necessity for Madison County. Are you a 501c3?
Yes, we are.
Okay, you are a 501c3. There is things from a county level reach out to different agencies because there is funding available through state government and federal government that I'm aware of directly towards this. Okay. So I will be making those emails tomorrow for you,
I appreciate that. I'll just leave you a few of these, and anybody that needs to get one, pass them out. I have been in
good articles,
Oh, that sounds like a full story article there.
We've got an article that's in the works. We got a little bit of fine tuning to do to it that we're going to get to the paper to get it run for us. As a matter of fact, we have a book meeting tomorrow night, so maybe we can get it when we can get it to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions anybody has? Anybody?
Could you say your email address?
I'll read it for you.
Okay, thank you.
It's Hope Hill.
What?
Hope, H-O-P-E.
Okay.
Hill, N-I-N, Madison County, @gmail.com. Hope Hill in Madison County @gmail.com.
Mitchell, we've been contacted a lot lately from churches that's wanting to. That's a big thing right now.
Yeah.
It may be something that.
They may be. Well, we've already started investigating the possibility of having a church donate the use of their parsonage since they're not being used as a parsonage now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. All right. Young lady, your name?
My name?
Yes, ma'am.
Kim Patton.
Kim Patton. All right.
Kim is one of our board members. She's here tonight. Cheerleader. Sheriff Palmer is one of our board members.
Agreed. That's right. No problem. I know. That'd be great. Just remind me. Well, we've already got thinking about that. The one we got, we got $5 million
family church service, y'all that's sitting in there and occupied.
That's a good idea.
I'm sure
I don't know, maybe
That's a pretty nice building, too.
All right.
it's got all
Indoor
kinds
plumbing and everything.
That's right.
Any actions on zoning matters and options? I know you. Legit statement, ladies and gentlemen, legit statement. Mr. Canola Scott, we have a.
Yes, sir. We have quite a few.
Yes, sir.
Have quite a few, and we'll try to get through these as quickly as possible. Yet, Our first public hearing, first reason was Brenda Escobedo is requesting to rezone her 5.9 acre property from A2 to RR to allow her to cut off 2 acres to sell to a family member to live on. The Planning and Zoning Board voted 5-0 to approve with the condition that she take the remaining and join it with her other A2 property. So, Ms. Escobedo.
The request is for 2 acres of the tract.
Yes. To be rezoned to RR, and she'll take the other 3.9 and combine it with her other A2 property.
How large is the tract, Mellis, do you know?
Sir,
How large is the other tract?
I do not know, she may can tell you.
You can come on up, young lady.
1.6.
1.6?
Yeah.
That would make it conform.
Yeah, it would make it conform.
1.6, 3.9. 5.5.
Ma'am, is everything that, Mr. Scott presented correct? When you said your other parcel was 1.6?
1.6.
Okay, perfect.
Goes to 1.
Is anyone here to speak in favor of? Is anyone here in opposition? I would ask this board for a motion to approve on the recommendation of the P and Z board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Adams, second by Commissioner Chandler. Any discussion, gentlemen?
Just to clarify, that is with the condition that Mr.
Yes,
Scott.
I'm sorry, with condition.
Get combined. The 2 acres as designated and the other gets combined.
Any other discussion? I'll start off with you. Yeah.
Yes.
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 Motion carries, young lady.
Thank you.
Mr. Scott?
Yes, our second public hearing was for Steve and Candace Bradley. They are requesting to rezone their 15.94 acre property from A1 to A2 to combine 0.82 acres from adjoining A2 property for a suitable building site to build a home for their disabled brother. This is kind of an emergency situation. The property that is dirt, they have a problem with the drainage, so therefore they want to join this property together so that they can provide a suitable place that they can put a septic tank to build a place for their disabled brother. The Planning and Zoning voted 5-0 to approve.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bradley, is there anything you'd like to add to that, or are you comfortable with what he said?
Exactly it, sir.
All right. Anybody else here to speak in favor of? Anybody here to speak in opposition of? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve, based off the recommendations from the Planning and Zoning.
I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner May. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kurt. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, Brian?
Yes.
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 Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, the third public hearing was for Jimmy and Judy Bates. They're requesting to rezone a 0.69 acre portion of their 13.54 acre
property from A2 to RR to combine with adjoining property to give as a courtesy buffer to a neighbor, Curtis Daniels. The property is located at 854 Jack Sharp Road on map 46 in District 5. We did have a letter from a neighbor, did not make the meeting, that was in favor of. The planning and zoning voted 5-0 to approve, this rezoning request.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Is the request only on the .69?
Correct.
Okay. So it's a portion.
Yep.
Yes.
There was a condition.
Okay.
You want to explain that?
Sure. The .69 acres be combined to the adjoining 2.13 acres of the RR property.
All right. Thank you.
To remain in A2.
Yes.
Is Jimmy or Judy Bates here? Anything you'd like to add to that, sir?
That's it.
Anyone else here to speak in favor of? Anyone else here to speak in opposition of? Hearing none, I'll ask the board for a motion.
I make a motion to rezone to 0.69 with the caveat of it, the condition that gets combined as noted in the discussion.
Second motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Doster, second by Mr. Chandler. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Derek?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next,
Mr. Bates, that's mighty honorable of you to give him that. Just saying.
the next 7 rezone requests are similar, but the P&Z took them up individually, because even though they're similar, they're also different. This is Billy Couch and Cajun Investment. This person did not show, so the planning and zoning rules are if you don't show for the first public hearing, then we don't hear that rezone request. So that one's dead.
All right.
This one's off the table.
Yes. Number 5.
Are they here tonight by chance?
I don't think so.
All right.
Hold on.
I spoke with him on the phone, and his wife had been involved in an automobile accident, and he had been driving her to therapy on and off, but he said that he was just going to let it lay, that he did not wish to pursue it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the update.
Okay. The 5th public hearing was for Robert Toll. They are requesting to rezone their 39.22 acre property from A1 to A2 to prohibit intensive farming practices on the property. The property is located at 750 Davis Farm Road in District 2. After much discussion, the planning and zoning voted 5-0 to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Is Robert or Wendy Toll here?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, young man?
Good evening. I'm Robert Toll. Thank you guys for joining me this evening. We have lived at this address, Wendy and I have, for the better part of 22, 23 years now. And this tract of land is actually part of the Davis Farms subdivision, or community area, is where we live. And due to recent events, everybody's aware of, we have come to learn that our property was zoned A1. And we were under the impression that our property was actually in A, because, yes, we've lived there for these many years. We have never really, farmed the property or any kind of agriculture and things of this nature. But not only that, in harmony with the other landowners of the Davis Farms community, we were under the impression that we were under deed restrictions that prohibit the use of intensive farming operations in that tract of land. So, in respect to the other landowners in the area, of course, we've maintained that. But in truth, though, through the years, we have no real desire to do that. So, looking at the property of how we utilize the property with that in mind, and again, in respect to our neighbors that are in that community, we think it's best from our resale purposes for our property and best use of the land in that community, given that it is, to rezone it to A2, which would optimize not only for us, but for future landowners as well.
All right, thank you, sir. With that being said, and I appreciate the explanation, and I'm sure this board does too. I want to clarify a few things because there's a developing pattern here. Asking the Board of Commissioners, and I may be going out on a limb, gentlemen, but asking the Board of Commissioners to restrict you on your property is not something government likes. We do not be restricted from government in any way. It's the last thing we want to do. But asking this board to restrict you from potentially you doing something on your property, I respect. But just know, if you sold the property for any reason, potentially, that property could be rezoned by a future buyer. Because there's a big misconception of it, just because we're surrounded by this, that will never become that. That's not a true statement.
Understood.
Okay. Yep. So I just clearing that up. Mike, am I correct in that?
You are absolutely correct.
And I respect your choice. All right?
Well, thank you.
I may add just a little bit to that too. There's been some discussion by this board regarding A2 properties being able to be divided further. You are aware that we are looking at a zoning and ordinance change to prohibit each other, so that you can't break it up into, in this case, 5 lots and sell it off and not come back before this board or the P&Z committee.
Yes, understood. Absolutely. We have no intent to do anything like that. And the geography our land sits in, I don't see that really even being an issue, actually. So.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anybody else is here in favor of?
I do. My name is Victor Boucher. I'm the board that the applicant lives on a private road, so the county doesn't need to maintain that road. And the applicant wants to preserve his property, but also for the entire neighborhood. And I hope that the board will grant his rezoning request. Thank you.
You did say yours was deed restricted, right? Your property is deed restricted, because some of those are.
Well, let me address it. And number one, I appreciate the way you presented your application. As a result of all this that happened up in that area, there's been a whole lot of recognition of some problems that had occurred, some things that had not been done correctly, and thanks to Chris and for the work that they've been done, they've recognized that there's a lot of information that has not been synonymous throughout the county system, and because of what and the deed restrictions on those properties there that y'all thought y'all had, that the county says is not there. Those are just the kind of things that have been brought to had some light shed on, and there's some work being done to correct that and put policies in place, procedures in place to keep that from occurring. So thanks to Tracy and Chris for undertaking that, because it's gotten pretty big.
As Paul is about to get.
I understand.
When we purchased the property, Tommy Walker Construction Company was the one that developed that parcel of land, or that community, Davis Farms community. all the properties that are in that community are deed restricted, okay? Through this whole process, we found out that ours was actually not deed restricted. We were under the impression that it was. That's why I said in the beginning that I was under the impression, that we were under the impression that our property was deed restricted. Still am under that impression. There's a private road that comes through that, Davis Farms Drive, that everyone has access to. It's deed restricted as well. So everyone has, responsibilities maintained, et cetera. But again, it's interpretation or an impression that I had to do.
Thank you, sir.
The large tract that Mr. Weenan had proposed, you border that particular tract.
Yes, sir, we do. We're immediately bordering that tract of land, yes.
And through this exercise of going through, these tracts are listed as A2. The large tract is listed as 2 A2s. But I want to make sure everyone in the room and in this group are aware that if someone comes with an appropriate agricultural use for that piece of property, that there's a very strong likelihood that that's going to be approved. And here again, a great deal of effort was placed into working with Mr. Wynn in convincing him that this particular property for the use he proposed maybe not be the most appropriate for that particular thing. But there are other farming operations that could take place there. An example is someone wanted to come in and build 4 or 6 chicken houses on the piece of property. It would be difficult for us not to approve that. We'll make sure everybody at the table, not on your tract, but on the 170-something acres.
I appreciate that. Of course, we can't, what happens in the future with the neighboring tract, I don't know. But I hope that in the broader scheme of things, from the community perspective, in harmony with not only the Davis property, but the tract of properties that surround the one you're talking about, it's our hope that all that would be considered in harmony with what this proper use of the land would be.
Yes. Well, here again, we really made an effort to recognize the trend in that area to go residential, but that would be at some point a board that wouldn't be as receptive to that or work as hard to make it happen. And Commissioner Chandler and Christopher Roach and Tracy all worked on that program. So,
and thank you all for what you did. We really appreciate your consideration and respecting our property.
I may have asked if anybody here in opposition of it. Hearing none, I will ask for a motion from Robert and Wendy Toller.
Mr. Chairman, I move this regional request be approved as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Chandler, second was that Brian? Mr. Kurt, any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, Dennis?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion carries, sir.
The next one is very similar. It's the of Robert and Donna Kelly requesting to rezone their 29.59 acre property from A1 to A2 to prohibit intensive farming on the property. The property is located at 433 Thousand Oaks Drive. Just as a caveat, the planning and zoning took many tools out there and looked at that property. If you have not seen it, I would suggest that maybe you do, because that was part of why we agreed that this should be rezoned. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5 to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly? Anything you'd like to say, or?
No, I just, you know, it's becoming increasingly important that the property zoning is, you know, it's a huge issue, right? And I just think that the property should reflect not only to the community and the county that it's accurately, zoned, if you will, to, you know, show use of that property.
Yes, sir. You did hear my statement, to Mr. Toll, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Just wanna make sure everybody understands that you're asking us to restrict you, so.
Understand.
Okay. Anybody here in opposition? Hearing none, gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion.
Move this rezone request be approved as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Chairman. Second by Commissioner May. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Seventh rezone request was for Randy and Cindy Peffel. They're also at, Thousand Oaks Drive in District 2. They have 20.17 acres, to be rezoned from A1 to A2. The planning and zoning voted 5-0 to approve.
Mr. Pethel? Anything you'd like to add to that, or did he do a good enough job?
It's pretty much the same all around.
All right. And I'll ask you did hear my statement? Okay, thank you, sir. Gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion.
Opposition.
Oh, I'm sorry, anyone in opposition? I don't think so. All right, sorry. Gentlemen, I ask for a motion on this rezone.
Move this application be approved as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Hamlin,
Second.
second by Commissioner May. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
I have a question, and it doesn't, it's not to rescind it just realized the drive leading up to it says the easement, but is that Thousand Oaks Drive, is that a public road or not? Okay, so it's just a drawing or a label, okay, I was just trying to clarify, thank you.
I'm sorry, it is a public road? It's private.
It's a private road.
Private road.
Private,
That's what I thought.
okay,
I just wanna make sure I heard it correct.
yeah, okay. It was just labeled easement, that's why I caught it.
Number 8, David Robbins is requesting 10.53 acres, property to be rezoned from A1 to A2. This is also 1,011, this is in District 2. One of the things that came to mind as we discussed this is a smaller tract. Not sure it should have been A1 to begin with, or we have a lot of real small A1 tracts. So this property really needs to be in the A2 category. So we voted 5-0 to approve.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robbins?
All good.
All good. I like it. When you get close to 2 hours in, it starts getting a little better. Anyone here in opposition? No. Hearing none, I would ask for
Move this rezone request be approved as presented.
a motion by Commissioner Chandler.
I'll second.
Let Brian have one. Second by Commissioner Kirk. Gentlemen, any discussion? Hearing none. Brian, it's on you.
Well, yes.
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 Yeah. Motion carried, Mr. Robbins.
Thanks, sir.
Number 9, the 9th rezone request was for Billy Norris. He's requesting to rezone his 3 continuous tracts of land from A1 to A2 to prohibit intensive farming practices on the property. This is also in District 2, and the properties are 10.13, 33.02, and 29.62 acres. The planning and zoning voted 5-0 to approve.
Was this intention informational that there was two separate ones, Priscilla Norris, it was?
Because they're in two different names.
Two different names.
It's husband and wife.
Yeah, but they're in two
Yes,
different names.
so I would ask this board, do we want to take this up?
I think it's being titled different, because I'll probably have to do.
I think we have to go separate.
Okay, all right. Mr. Norris, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, everything's already been said, thank you.
All right. Anyone in opposition of? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion by this board.
Chairman, I move this rezone request be approved as presented.
I have a motion by Commissioner Chandler. Do I have a second? Second. By Commissioner May. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none? There.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Motion carries, sir. I don't know if it's gonna go that well for your wife or not. Well, you're good. You don't know.
Our last one, the 10th rezone request was Priscilla B. Norris is requesting to rezone her 20.45 acre property from A1 to A2. This is also in District 2. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-0 to recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Schott. Do you accept what he's saying, or would you like to add anything to it?
I'm Priscilla Norris, yes.
You're good? All right. Anyone here in opposition? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion by this board.
Chairman, I move we approve this rezone request as presented.
A motion by Mr. Chandler. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kirk. Any discussion, gentlemen?
Just a couple of things, just sort of sum up my feeling on it. It always hurts my feelings anytime we take one from A2 down, or one down. Just, like I said, that at that point it restricts this to a degree from being intensive agriculture, which for intensive purposes in Madison County means poultry house. Now, there are a lot of other components of agriculture that might seem less than conducive to folks that are still allowed. I mean, the application of poultry litter as fertilizer would still be allowed. So, and there's a lot of other things that along those same lines. But it's a concerning trend for me. The topography in that area makes it a little bit easier, because a lot of it's the terrain there just makes it pretty difficult for it to really listen in some of the smaller tracts. The acreage itself would already make them pretty limiting. But it's a hurtful thing to see it happen. I understand the thinking, and through this whole process, I appreciate the attitude the community has used to address me. This all could have been very unpleasant, but in large part, for the most part, I was addressed very civilly, and I do appreciate that.
Anyone else? All right, hearing none. Dennis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Now, put that aside. I would advise everybody, though, that's done this, to make sure you get a copy of the A2, so everybody knows what it could potentially happen even on A2.
That introductory paragraph in the A2 section, so 7.2 is pretty telling. If you get a copy of the ordinance on page 71 and 72, all the things that are allowed, the permitted uses in the A2, it'd be good to know those.
All online? On the planning and zoning?
Yeah, you go online.
So you can,
The one that's most concerning to us as a board, and some of you may or may not be aware, and I know you are, is the SB 260, the sludge dumping. That's probably the most concerning thing to me, more so than any chicken house, personally, because it's going to be way more detrimental than any chicken house ever thought about. And that could be A2. But I promise you, this board, Christopher, surrounding commissioners and legislatures, local legislators, are fighting, along with our county attorney, to try to get some restriction on the county level, because as of right now, we have none. Yeah. And that is a 100-foot setback. So, thank you all. You're welcome to leave, or you can stay and hear us out. We've got a few more matters here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
zoning matters, amendments to zoning ordinance article, which one article is that? I can't read that.
12.
12, section 12.2, building permit required. It's you, Chris. You can wake up, bud. If it wasn't a work session, you know, we'd be upset with you, but
Yeah.
we're all right now.
I'm a silent comment. At request of the board, of the chairman, we went through talking about our accessory buildings and the sizes required, before permitting takes place. Some pole barns were brought into consideration, definitions going back and forth between accessory dwelling versus a pole barn. So one of the amendments is that it includes pole barns, but the size also go up to 400 square feet, as well from the 288. These numbers, for the sizes were talked about. The ICC code is 200 square feet for most building inspections before it starts. We start looking at some GDA and state legislation between 500 square foot to 400 square foot. Most at 400 square foot, we're kind of on the lead if you start looking eastward as far as sizes and go where they start getting exponentially larger before permitting is allowed. This not only will help the county in its residential areas, but it'll also help the code enforcement, building inspection, zoning teams, is when we go out, it's a lot easier to tell a 10 by 40 versus breaking out the tape measures at 11.6 by 10 or 24, having a nice round number. But these recommendations are very well researched in going out and trying to make sure we're conforming with what's around us as well as the county's needs. Tiny homes were also brought up in this conversation to make sure that we adjust it appropriately for what the state has set out for us.
So and I want to give a little bit of backstory to this. Pole barns has been a discussion in prior years. 10 years ago when we were discussing this, even 5 or 6 years ago when I was on planning and zoning, it was discussed about pole barns not being looked at or inspected. And Derek may be able to chime in on this more so than anybody. The restrictions on the requirement of a pole barn is by far 3 folds tougher for an inspection than an actual closed-sided barn. When I used to do erected steel on a pole barn, was by far, that engineering standpoint looked at an uplift. So they required a lot larger footings. Right now, currently, we have post hole diggers that's dug a hole and they dropped them 6 by 6 posts. But more so than that is what we've seen in recent years of pole barns becoming barndominiums. They'll come in and they don't permit a pole barn, and the next thing you know, it's closed in and a slab's poured and plumbing's run in the middle of the night and electricians, and next thing you know, the tax assessor has no idea that there's actually a home sitting there because it did not need an inspection of a pole barn.
That also comes in to back on that. A pole barn in Madison County can be covered on 3 sides. We don't go out there. We ask them, is it a pole barn? They say yes. We make a pass back out through there. 6 weeks later, all of a sudden it's got a front on it. We have no way to get inside to tell if it's being used as a structure until the septic is rolling out on the ground. 3 cases this year already. And then courts get involved and being able to enter the premises, and it turns into a mess, and there's not really a way at this point in time.
So this is why this was added, mainly for the barndominiums.
Yes.
And you sure it doesn't have anything to do with the pole barn they started building in my place today? I'm serious.
Really, how big is it?
40 by 60.
Oh, yeah.
If you wouldn't mind just willingly come by my office tomorrow for a citation.
It's a minimal fine.
Just put it in my put it in my.
Actually, if they started today, then he's grandfather.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're good to go then.
Yeah.
I read this close.
farmer involved in that over there, though, we have issues.
It's out on the ground right in my front yard, though.
Just don't let him find septic.
I don't know what to do with it, Mike. I'm just sorry.
Yeah, well.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you're right, it's not my problem.
You're riding it out, Lois.
All right, gentlemen, any other questions regarding, 12.2?
Yeah, there was some discussion, and I'm not really sure how or if it could make it more, I mean, I understand the need, understand the intent. Does it, and Mr. Mitchell mentioned this to me, does like in Denny's situation, a pole barn in a situation that's obviously agricultural, are we creating an unnecessary burden on our farmers when we increase our requirements there? Would it be appropriate to say in specific zones? And the other part of that question is, are pole barns per se allowed in, say, R1, RR? And if that's the case, should that not be? And
That's
where I'm just thinking of creative ways to address the problem without an additional regulatory burden on somebody who's legitimately using
Yes,
pole barn for production purposes.
When it was originally looked at, and going through all my research, the 288 was brought out from a 12 by 24 covered carport, somebody being able just to throw it up, which was totally understandable and acceptable at that point in time, and I think that's where they leaned towards making the differentiation, but it isn't used. So to say, coming forward, and while, as myself, as a farmer, sympathize with that one myself, and 10 times out of 1 where we are the ones, more so than other areas, making sure that everything's in the right because we're working with grants or want to make sure all our ducks are in a row. Fortunately, I tell this with people with solid waste too when we're out and about, because of a few bad eggs, the dozen got ruined. I don't know if in the future there's something that we could do to look at adding it acceptable practices within the zoning, which I'm open for any discussion or task that y'all point to me. At this point in time, it's the easiest way to close the door effectively.
So how specifically does this help you prevent these from becoming dwellings?
A lot. Most of the time, we'll run across pole barns now, and they are being used as a pole barn, like the chairman said. We're seeing we'll think about a stack house, for instance, before it comes in, the structural engineer making sure that the load beam, the width, the metal girder, everything's in place. And when we see that, you know, we know it's not going to be a stack house or just agriculture based, because the people that are putting millions of dollars worth of equipment underneath it want to make sure they're not making an insurance claim and shut down during a hay season, where people, just from perception, by all means, where we come out and they say it's a pole barn when we catch it. It happens to be about 20 by 36. They've got windows on 2 sides, but there's no way for us to prove otherwise or to come back around without antagonizing or distressing a citizen. Those are the ones with dirt floors, waiting to have a subfloor put in, so forth and so on. So right now, we'd like to use officer discretion, but it's being sticky when we come back around as harassment or antagonizing the citizen at this point.
And then the permitting, have you got a fee structure?
Yeah, that's what I was
We're looking at coming along either at a $30 or a $60 permit fee for accessory dwelling or pole barn. We're looking at redoing, or not redoing, but assessing our permitting fees, because we are way under anybody surrounding us as far as fees.
So the inconvenience to the farmer would be the fact that it would cost you $60 to be permitted, and I don't think anybody on a 400 square foot building, $60 is not going to affect anybody one way or the other. But it will also cover them if there is a disaster and that thing falls over. Inspected when it was put up, because it may not cover the equipment inside it got ruined. If it was properly inspected and properly built by our sign-off on it, now gives your insurance company said, hey, must have been some strong wind because it was inspected, where now it's not inspected.
It also helps the tax record for the county as well. Tax assessors go out. Well, we didn't know they built I don't throw anybody's name under the bus, but we'll just say 100 by 200 foot barn for a working pen. You know, we're not taxing them on that. We had no idea that was happening, but that's a $65,000 structure, you know, a taxable structure versus a carport, so forth and so on. That's the reason I wanted to up it.
The cities has had this in place for several years.
Mm-hmm. But you could build, I'm just gonna rough it up, say 24 by 28 and put a 2-bay, you know, in my mind, I can put a tractor with a loader on it in there and maybe a baler and a rake, and the next one is, it's not, the sizes are trying to expand.
Yeah. So essentially, if I come in, I request a permit for a pole barn, and then your visit comes out there and shows that there's something else, then I by myself have created a violation.
Yes, sir.
And that gives you a leg to stand on.
Yes, sir, it does. And essentially, we'd be looking at 2, your footings and then your final. So 2 inspections are what we're looking at, decide to add power to it. And then this also allows us to possibly put power on a structure that normally would be in no area. Because I know a lot of agriculturalists, I've got barns, but can't legally get power on it because it's not a dwelling, or I'm within so many feet, depending on your county, of having a dwelling, or we can't prove that it's not going to become a dwelling. This way, you're on record as saying it's a pole barn or accessory dwelling, also, where we do have
building, not accessory dwelling.
But by definition, we had to add.
We have a really good definition of pole barn and accessory building.
I don't know an definition of pole barn at all. Is there one in the ordinance?
Yes.
I know we have accessory dwelling.
Because that's where we get the 3 sides.
Accessory building and accessory dwelling.
Yeah.
That ought to be make sure that's 2 separate.
Yeah, accessory building and accessory dwelling. Dwelling's a whole different thing, accessory building, because we don't permit anything underneath 400 square feet in the county as a dwelling, so this catches them from making one that's undersized.
Here it is, Chris.
Oh, it is. Built of poles and a roof, may or may not have a floor, can have up to 3 sides. Their definition.
Dennis, you have a question?
Yeah, Todd, and I've been in this, pole barns, stack houses, and, this type of structure on farms. If you go through any, government ASF program, equipment, right, they are inspected by their agency. Right. You don't have to worry about it. And they're very tough.
Yeah.
And they give you a set of plans on foundation, concrete, and the whole 9 yards. So I don't know if we need to overlap too much, because I know a lot of private people are doing their own. But once Terry knows this, he had one blow down, and he had to build back to specs to be in the program. So.
Yeah, and see, they'll be more. We can be less stringent.
We have to be as stringent.
Yeah, as stringent. But you're right. All the loans for those stack houses, they come with a pretty healthy package with them.
Money and everything that comes.
I don't know that they're requiring farm credit. Other people are requiring, say, on a poultry house. A few years ago, very short, they didn't require any kind of inspection, which is totally crazy.
It is.
Because I went to my insurance, I said, y'all not require inspection? Nah. I said, my goodness, man, I have a claim, you're gonna pay it, and it wasn't inspected. He said, yeah.
But then again, this isn't where we're focused. Just so we're not focused towards that.
Yeah, that's one of the, I'm glad you asked that question, because we're not looking at the big farmers doing the big things, because we already know that they're tied. You know, their hands is tied in the loan process. This is for the other guys.
That's right.
You know, sort of like that seatbelt law, you know, we all gotta wear it, you know, even though I already wear mine, so.
Well, I've got a comment.
No, it's already.
Might well relook at that definition of pole barn. May specify the use of, what would be intended, because that is a pretty open-ended definition.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do have a section of intended uses that we could look at, allowing for some bigger. Yeah.
I believe the word animal confinement would clear up whether it's different from just a hay barn. Seriously.
Yeah.
That would cover poultry houses, hog houses, chicken houses, anything in the book is animal confinement.
Yeah, yeah, they're separated.
Yeah. I see all the agricultural issues, but I do also see the other side where you putting up, you're putting up a pole barn, and we don't even know when it comes to dwelling. I mean, that's the issue we're really trying to address.
Yes.
And so, you know, I don't wanna create any real inconvenience for the farmer, but, don't want us to get away too far involved with that and get away from what we're trying to do here, because, I have seen some of those occur over on the Macedonia Church Road. So.
Permitting's not gonna solve everything, you know, people, without a permit, people build rooms on the houses and decks on the houses, and you don't catch it until
But at least
the
we.
assessor goes out there or something.
Yeah, but at least if they have to get a permit, if they're supposed to get a permit, we got something to stand on. If they don't have to get a permit, it's always after the fact, and they said, I didn't know, and all that. As long as the permit is not, the fee is not something that's gonna keep people from doing it. I mean, if you're gonna build a pole barn and it's cost you $40 to $60, I mean, if you can't afford the $60 for the permit, you shouldn't be building a pole barn.
Well, we looked at that just to show it was not, targeting is the reason we didn't structure that permit per square footage. Because the guy's gonna say $60 for my little 400 foot, but that guy just 5,000. Yeah, you can see we wasn't, the intent was not to, limit those, but to actually know what we got. All right.
And we're not gonna vote on this tonight, right?
No. Well, I mean, we can. Yeah.
Yes, went through the two public hearings.
Oh, that's, yes, right. Yeah, correct.
He also cheap.
Unless you see that we need to, amend some of the wording.
Yeah,
I do think we need to work on the definitions, without working on the definitions.
Yes, so there was also, is there a public hearing tonight? Is this the second one? Was it?
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't advertised for hearing tonight, so we'll.
I don't remember it getting done, so.
Yeah, you have to run it's a separate public hearing when you make amendments.
Well, it's no problem. We'll just call this the public hearing, and we'll give us time to adjust the wording and.
Well, no,
You have
we'll
to
still
run an
have to
ad.
go through the process
Yeah.
and do the
Yeah, I
P
mean,
and Z
you gotta run
hearing
an
and then have the public hearing here.
Yeah,
But
we
you
got
had the
time.
discussion to go back and do that.
That's fine, we have time.
And actually, that would allow us to also, when we advertise, to change that definition of pole barn as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's absolutely fine.
I think that would be most appropriate.
I'll be honest with you, we got so many amendment changes, I don't remember where we're at.
This is also gonna apply to 2 through 4.
Yeah, well, that's the good part.
Can I ask a question at this point?
Yeah.
I just heard you say we've gotta have a P and Z hearing.
Right.
I was told we didn't
If,
have to on
if
internal.
we're not involved, if the P and Z is not involved, how can we have a P and Z hearing on the back end?
I don't
In
understand.
other words, we weren't involved in whatever.
The discussion is.
Not the
We weren't involved in this discussion.
Yeah, and honestly, it really has nothing to do with P and Z. It don't have anything to do with the rezone whatsoever.
He just, no.
It does.
No.
Well,
So your P and Z staff is going to, so with this input from the board, they will now initiate the normal process. It's the search for a text amendment to the zoning ordinance as it is for a rezone.
Gotcha.
Right.
All right, no problem.
Okay, that's what I didn't understand.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No, we're good.
Yeah. All right, Christopher, you wanna, talk about the 2, 3, and 4? This is tabled.
No,
No, it's,
Three
we had
Go to
discussion.
P and Z now. Going to P and Z now.
And the same will be true of these up 2 through 4.
It was basically information presented to us. If we didn't want to kill it right now, we would direct that to say, don't do anything. But we basically say, move forward with the procedures.
All right. We'll make the correction.
Well, how long does that ad run the paper? 1 week or 2 weeks?
It's the same as a rezone, so it runs, I think it just runs once
Yep.
in the 15 to 45 day window
So
for both hearings.
so since Tracy I think this is kind of like your first set of amendments to the ordinance.
Yes.
So she'll run it for 1 week. Now, when, in her ad, does she need to note each individual section that's being amended, or just the subdivision regulations and the zoning ordinance for the public hearing?
Well, I mean, yeah, you usually describe, so the ad has to have the time, place, and purpose of the hearing, so more detail is better on purpose, just so it's not challenged later. You don't have to put the text in there, obviously, but no, I think in the past, if you pull up, I think they just, timing doesn't hit so that you can do it in one ad, then you'll have to do two. If the timing hits correctly, you could put it all into one ad. There'll be a hearing on this date and a Board of Commissioners hearing on this date to amend the following sections of the zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. But those hearings would have to be in that 15 to 45 day window. If one of them's further out, you'll have to run it a second for the second.
No problem. So you can submit to the paper this week, and then you have it at your next meeting, not the one tomorrow, but your middle of the month meeting.
Right.
If that would work for your chairman, your board. And then you can come to us at the beginning of June.
Our second meeting.
Sorry, I don't mean to take extra time, I just wanted to be sure that.
Second meeting.
Right.
But we could go on our second meeting.
Okay, yeah.
And that would make it more likely we can do them both in the same ad.
Yeah, what is it, the 15th, Tracy?
Advertising in this week's paper?
No,
I'd have to have it there by noon.
in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, the deadline's passed, but I'm trying to,
Okay, and we haven't even worded it yet.
I would need to know, I'm not gonna start laying it out in the morning.
Yeah.
I just need to know the size.
Okay.
Just one ad?
Yeah, it'll just be one, and we'll just note the zoning, like you said, the zoning ordinance, the subdivision regulations. I don't think you even have to break it down into sections.
I put the section.
Yeah, it would be easier, and that way if somebody decided to look it up, they can see what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just say we're gonna amend the zoning ordinance, that'll tell the public much.
We'll get with you in the morning, and I'll talk to the ad.
Okay.
I mean, that's true. Surely you have some strings you can pull there. All right, Zach. Use the power. Zach, use the power.
We know you know.
All right, number 5, zoning matters, temporary moratorium discussion. Gentlemen?
Go, we gotta go through the rest.
I was gonna address it, I'm sorry. I thought we were
I thought we were gonna have a discussion.
gonna start over. Yeah, like the first one before it goes.
Okay. Yes, the
Unless
number,
y'all tell me different, then I'm not gonna sit down. I thought we was backing up. This is why it's a work session, not a meeting.
Hit these real quick. Just
Yes,
tell us what you want.
Yeah.
All right, real fast. These are totally the copies that we have to take in as the government for any subdivision at preliminary and final stages. We used to have to take in 15 or more plats, which was a cost to the developer themselves. There were paper copies. What we've done is eliminate that down, try and bring it up a little more into the digital age, where we're requiring not only hard copies, but fewer hard copies, but digital copies as well. It makes it easier for us to be able to share those with you rather than trying to go to Kinko's and scan in 3x4 pictures. We can put them up on the pages. Everybody can be on the same track, and that's all that's doing, is eliminating cost and paper and trash from the county's end and making it smoother to share the information. Also to make edits.
I'd recommend while you're looking at this.
Yes, sir.
Define what you mean by digital copies, because that would mean different things to different people.
All right.
ID what you want to get back, and whether it needs to actually be in there or defined somewhere else.
Yes, sir.
Format definitions.
I'll get with Thomas, IT guy, to see what he thinks is the best course for us on what those definitions be. Thank you, sir.
So now we want you to proceed with the process on this way.
Yeah. Proceed through P and Z with this as well. All right, you want to go on to the next one? Anybody got any questions about section 9? Well, item 2.
It was on the back of that other page.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Same thing.
Yeah.
Are you good?
I think 3 and 4 y'all are going to need to table it because number 5.
Correct.
That stemmed from a conversation me and Christopher had. The amendments to 3 and 4 right now would probably change depending on the result of number 5 anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
we've skimmed the surface, but due to other needs in the county, we haven't been able to do the depth and the research that I would like to present to y'all on top of that. We've cast our net.
Well, that could be one of the things done during.
Yes, sir.
During
Yes,
that 90 days.
Right. And that's
That's
what we
why
can
we-
do with those two.
Yeah.
All right.
Question, Terry?
You just lost in that whole conversation.
3 and 4 were,
I got 4.
This is where, this comes from a conversation that is on the backside of the page, they all put together.
amendments to subdivision regs, as far as starting out with our, checklist and requirements from the very start. We're still compiling an information list before we could put it forward in a
Right,
finished
so
format.
this was like the first step to giving the board more discretion in these processes. So that's where, as this conversation that the board's been having with amendments and needing this and needing that, that's where this process is finally gotten from P&Z to get in front of the board, and then, moratorium was discussed at the last meeting. So, it's one of those,
We kind of fit the G-Haul on it from last week.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Technical term. Need definition?
Yeah, that's technical term too. I got it.
Good.
I'm sorry,
The
Dennis?
appropriate time to make a comment?
Sure, go right ahead. This is a work session, sir. We're pretty open during these.
I didn't really come to say anything, but Dennis here last week saw me, says, and I apologize about coming to these meetings. I'm a lifelong, resident, born and raised where I live now. My father came home after World War II, got an FHA loan and bought a farm and started farming. One of the first poultry people, in our area. Dennis said, you need to come, speak your piece, because we're trying to make improvements. So here I am, I know Terry, I know most of you, I think all of you.
Yeah, and we know who you are, but
I'm
can you
sorry.
say, can you, we know who you
Just
are.
say your name, just so.
Dennis Spoon,
Spoon,
Crawford, Georgia, farmer.
Yeah, and I know, we know, but we always try to get it for the record here.
I'm
so,
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That way Christina can take notes.
Okay, that's
right.
She got like guy in yellow shirt.
Don't put it in the paper, please. Don't put it in the newspaper.
8 years from now, they'll be like, guy in yellow shirt said what?
Yeah.
But anyway, we have, and I've talked to real estate people and stuff, we have the most attractive living area in North Georgia. People are wanting to come here like crazy. They're dying to get here. Prices are being inflated for property and all this stuff. And I do, I'm a farmer, of course, I think there's a place for residential, there's a place for farming. There's no doubt about it. You guys are not the first to be involved in talking about this. I was on the planning and zoning board when it started. The same questions came up then that you're addressing now. It fell through the cracks. Now you're seeing this thing just explode into a much bigger problem. I think you'd all agree to that. I appreciate you taking it up. You're going to have a hard road to hoe. You're going to have opposition. You're going to have court lawyers after you and everything in the book, I'm sure. But we need to maintain the integrity of our county where we have nice homes, nice property, and we have farming. We were in the top 5 in the state of Georgia a few years ago in farm gate, and that's pretty doggone good in the whole state of Georgia. But there's no place for a poultry house to be beside a residential subdivision. Neither is it the other way.
Right.
Neither is the other way. So, and there's odors. We spread chicken litter. I will not do that, and most farmers respect the residents. I would not do that at all. But it's a valuable fertilizer for us, so it is a practice that we do. So, I just charge you to let's get something done before it gets out of hand, and you're going to see major problems if we don't. We have concentrations right now of poultry, residential. And the first thing I heard was what was zoning for is to not have that, okay? Think about it. You want to have the best for the best here. And I thank you for bringing it up, and I challenge you
don't, I'm gonna say it, don't let us down, okay, from both sides. And multifamily housing is separate from single-family housing, you know that, it's not a mix. But we see these, and I hate it, we see these outside investors who have a lot of money just coming into our county, just gobbling up what they can to resell, make a big profit, and leave. Think about it. That's terrible. That's an injustice to our grandchildren, our children, or whatever. And I hate to see it. So the moratorium that you're talking about and other issues, like I say, I commend you to bring it up, that you are bringing it up, but it's a big issue, and everyone knows that here. So if I can be of any help or whatever, I'm a lifelong farmer. I farm for a living. My son farms for a living. We own some acreage in the county. We intend to farm. Like I say, I don't tend to step on my neighbors with farming going on to their residence or nothing else. I don't think the good farmers would dare do that. It'd be burned at the stake, you know, because it's not what's suitable for everybody. But please don't put a subdivision next door to my chicken houses, and I have to deal with the complaints, you know. Or not only that, but cattle. Cattle's big, poultry's big. You got eggs layers. There's a lot of people making their living off of farm and farm gate money coming in. But please, don't let these outsiders overdo us here. Please. I don't want to see that happen. I see it happening now, and they're a little faster and they're a little quicker than all of us. You just need to know that. They're looking to find that spot, and they're taking it in. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis. Mr. Chairman, this might be a good time to remind everybody that I think the website is up for the comprehensive plan that has the list of meetings, and people with things to offer like Mr. Moon should check that and make sure they participate in the comprehensive planning process.
Yes. I've encouraged our organizations in the county, the Farm Bureau, Young Farmers, the Cattlemen Association, and who am I missing out on? Young Farmers, what's that? Young Farmers, Cattlemen, and Farm Bureau. They are aware, and they're on board and getting more on board, being discussed, what's happening right now. That's the people that need to be outspoken for yay or nay, whatever. And we'll make sure that they are responding. I'm the only one here tonight, but I'm going to encourage other people to come just to show the face, you know.
Mr. Moon, I commend you for standing up and saying that tonight. I will tell you, I will assure you that this board is committed to following through, as ugly as it may get, which we hope if we take the right approach and get as much community involvement in this program as possible, that this goes a lot smoother than maybe in the previous years. I know there's a lot of buy-in right now. Your son may not know it, but he was nominated to be on this board. You may not even know that. He hasn't even got a copy, maybe, I don't know yet. But either way.
He got a call.
Oh, did he? He got a call, okay. So, it's detrimental to the county future. And it's going to be a challenge, and we know that. And I think remember here, when we embarked on this, knew what kind of challenges we faced, knew the backlash that we may catch, and is willing to accept that, because it's not political. It's just the right thing to do for our future.
Well, Oglethorpe County is being hammered right now in the same boat because they think they can acquire cheap land and develop it or subdivide it, and they better start doing something. So they got to build, I understand, another school is needed up there in the Winterville area, and they better get on board. They're going to be overrun. They're going to pay for all this.
But thank you again for your remarks.
Yes, sir. Thanks for hearing me.
And to anybody in the public, on these work session nights, this is what they're for. If you have something to get off your chest, tonight's tonight. Not necessarily the next meeting, it's the voting meeting, but please, email, contact any of us. This is your opportunity for us to hear something we may not be recognizing. All right. And as I will reiterate what Mike Pruitt said, go to the website. If you ain't seen it yet, please check it out. Please voice your input.
So the resolution on the pause, we're going to take that up next meeting, or is that?
No, this is for tonight, so,
For tonight.
yeah, so this is, you have the resolution in front, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, did you
No,
want me to go ahead?
no, yes, sir, go right ahead.
Okay, so this resolution would, put the moratorium on accepting first applications for rezoning, and secondly, applications and submittals for plat approvals which divide an existing parcel of record into two or more parcels. So those are the two things we put the pause on. This would be effective until our next meeting of May 23rd. Planning and zoning does need to advertise a public hearing for extending this moratorium for whatever period of time the Board of Commissioners decides is appropriate, and you will have, the public will have their opportunity to comment on that if they want to, at your May 23rd meeting.
All right. One question I would ask on this, gentleman, and I think I already know the answer, but I got a sticky note here, that was added to mine. It says, do you want to include building permits? And I don't remember who put the sticky note on, but building permits will continue as long as, on existing parcels. So we're not stopping the construction of your house.
On existing conforming parcels.
Exactly. So with that being said, if you have a conforming lot now that you're fixing to start next week, build your house, permits are still open for that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Second motion.
Yeah.
I have a motion by, Commissioner Doster, second by Commissioner Chandler. Any discussion, gentlemen? You have a question?
Yes. Can the attorney read that again?
Yes. Moratorium on accepting 1, applications for rezoning, and 2, applications and submittals for plat approvals which divide an existing parcel of record into 2 or more parcels.
And how long is it gonna be, this first one?
This goes through May 23rd, when the board will take public comment and then decide how much longer to extend it.
That's what Commissioner Chandler said had to be added to it, not about the conforming parcel permits.
No, that's part of it.
That's just part of what we
Part of
have.
y'all's reviews.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was.
Yes, sir, it's already been discussed.
If y'all screw that up, we're coming for you.
How many public hearings?
This one only requires one at the Board of Commissioners level, so this doesn't
Only
have-
one?
Yeah, only one.
And that will be next,
That will be May 23rd, at the May 23rd meeting, the regular meeting of the board.
I have already been receiving public comment on that, and it's all been in favor.
Mine too, brother. With that being said, I have a first and a second, oh, I'm sorry.
I just had a quick question. Regarding the A2, can't you just make amendments to have the people have to come and get and have it rezoned if they wanted to split up? I mean, it seems like you keep, I'm sorry, I forget.
Dennis Adams.
Dennis, how you suggested that you don't agree with it, if you had an A2 property, that they were breaking it up into smaller lots and without having to come in front of the rezone. Can't you just add that they have to do that?
That is what's gonna be addressed, but you, go ahead, Mr. Adams.
What we have seen is purposely, and this is why I made the comments regarding cautioning, changing from A1 to A2, and you may not have the opportunities later on to divide your property up to 5 times, if I'm correct on that, without ever approaching the board again. You just decide one day to do it. And what we have found, and to echo Dennis Moon's comments on this, what we have found are developers that are specifically targeting medium-sized A2 tracts, 15, 20-acre tracts, that they go in, buy the tract, and the only time this group knows it, or planning and zoning know about it, is when somebody comes in and starts applying for building permits. And, you know, forgive me, but we see that over and over and over, and where we have had, here again, to echo some of y'all's comments, people who want a nice place in the country, we have seen that over and over. All of a sudden you drive by and there's 5 new concreted driveways without a turnaround on a slab house. And personally, I just wish we could get a handle on that, because what we're having is people building adjacent to intensive agricultural areas and then wanting it to be residential areas, but it never was residential. Example would be your plot or the Norris's plot. It's A2 now, and if you split it up, and y'all have relatively large tracts, you can split it up, and those tracts are A2. And if you have a large enough tract, we've had circumstances in the past where people came in, you're supposed to wait 3 years between the times you divide it up, and we've had cases where people waited less than 9 months and walked right back in and divided an A2 tract up again, so then you don't have 5 homes, you have 10. And that's just a way to get under the zoning and planning ordinances we have in place, and also a way to avoid it being a minor subdivision or what we call a major subdivision in this county. And people who are, for want of a better word, devious enough to research something like that and target areas to do it, I personally really want that stopped, because I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to the an example, I wouldn't think it would be fair for the Norrises to do that to you as their neighbors. And neither you do it to them. And I certainly don't want the person across the road from me to do it, because we knew it was farmland when we bought that. And it's a means to put a check and balance in place.
And this whole thing we're talking about here, where it's gonna give us time to go in and look at what changes need to be made. So you're exactly right. Yeah, there's some of that stuff that we can change there in the ordinances to make the requirements, to make sure they're fair to everyone, and, you know, that we can avoid creating those situations.
And please understand, we're not targeting the Davis Farm group. This is happening all over the county. And if nothing else, maybe it'll provide you guys with some protection too, because I know y'all are aware of some very small plots that are really close to y'all that are just not conducive to what we want to see for the county in the future, you know, or what I believe we want to see.
Credit again to Chris and Tracy for having helped identify the abuses that have been occurring and working towards corralling them. But the speed that this has been occurring, I wouldn't say it forces us to take the action we're doing, but it certainly sheds light on the necessity of us taking this kind of action so we get a handle on it. This is not designed to create problems or inconveniences for anybody. That will be our intent, to keep this as reasonably short period as possible to get this handled. And then the other component of this is as we address the comprehensive plan and the design of the future of Madison County for 5, 10, and 20 years beyond, it's going to give us an opportunity to begin with that plan and begin to see where it takes us, and then utilize this as a tool again to help us build things to help us get that plan implemented. Paul,
yeah, I got a comment. Devil's advocate here. I got a 100-acre tract. I'm retired. I need to sell for my retirement.
Do you need to sell it within 90 days?
Well, no, I'm just saying, you know, a farmer works all his life.
Right.
If he needs any money, he sells off the tract here and sells off parcel there. Or this is retirement. Developer comes along and offers me $1 million an acre for it. I can't get the county to go along with me to sell it. So money talks.
Yeah. So
and that's the reason this property
property is selling because of the money.
What,
You got to have some way to the person that owns it to sell this development rights to leave that property in farmland.
Actually had that exact, conversation with Ms. Hall, who's directing the group that's doing this consulting for the conference plan, that exact concept discussed with her, and yeah, that will be that may be part of the solution. It certainly will be considered. But the goal will be, that kind of situation is not what we're looking at. That's not the problem situation. The problem is when that developer comes in, that's where we want to make sure that we're keeping that from getting out of control.
Yeah, Clay can help.
Well, just one comment, or a couple comments. I want to thank Dennis. The first thing he said was, there's room for all of us. And I mean, we need to keep that in mind. There's room for the farmer, there's room for non-farmer, there's room for everybody. We just got to figure out how to put them there. And I agree with Dennis with this being part of planning and zoning with this A2 thing. But the one thing we do not want to forget, and I want to put this on record, is that we need affordable housing in Madison County. Let's just don't forget that as we make these plans. That is something that is very important. Affordable housing.
Thank you. It's a little deeper than that too, young lady. They done a great job answering the A2 question. I couldn't have done it that well. But this moratorium pause, is going to give us an opportunity, and I don't know if you had a chance to read last week's Madison County Journal. If you're not, go out and get you one. I think maybe discounted this week, ain't it, Zach? But anyway, it describes in detail a lot of issues that we have to address. This is not just about A2 properties. This is about stopgaps and issues that we have internally through the permitting process, through some of the ordinances that we have. We have to take a breather and fix the documents when you walk through the door, so we hand you a correct piece of paper. We have to correct current zoning issues that's already there that we're aware of. Non-conforming lots, Q-public lots, 2,347. I'm not getting lengthy on this because it's at 8:40 and I know everybody's tired, but this right here is a much-needed pause for corrections of just as much in our office staff and our office paperwork as it does to A2. So it's a very extensive, in 90 days, it's going to be pushing for us to get our end done. I'll be honest with you. But it is going to be a simpler process when we're done. If you didn't get an opportunity to read the newspaper last week, come by the end of May, we're going to have a new permit process. You can get your house, build your house offline on your permits. You want to build a house, do all your permits online, hit send. Everybody gets a copy of your permits, 911 Health Department, tax assessors, everybody knows what you're doing right out the gate. Saves you from coming in and learning, oh, well, I needed that, well, I didn't bring that, I didn't know to bring that. And that's all done at home. So there's a lot of implementations that's going to take place in Madison County over this next 90 days. And I honestly feel sorry for both of these and the rest of their office staff for the hoops that we've lined up for them to jump through in just 90 days. Now, with that said, I've already got them.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So, we talk a lot about development and growth, but the two things that are driving factors on development growth are going to be water and sewer.
Correct.
And the county can determine where that growth goes in this county. If we've got a water and sewer plan, the direction where that growth's going, do we have that?
That's
been a point of contention.
Point of contention, and that's what we're looking at, this comprehensive plan to help drive that. Yes, that's one reason. Another reason that we just put a pause here is we need a pause to get all this stuff together and take a breath. And so everybody's made real good points. They're all the same points that we've talked about. So we're of like minds out there.
And I would encourage everybody in this room to be back in this same room in 2 weeks, and then come back a couple weeks later.
Oh, yeah.
We need this.
And go to the comprehensive plan meeting. That's where they're going to have workshops and all those kind of things. That's where folks like y'all need to be at and get your input into it.
I appreciate that input, affordable housing.
I just wish today, I would knew what affordable housing was. At the rate building materials cost, an affordable house right now today is $200,000. There's there's no such word as affordable housing. As much as I would like to think that we could do those until inflation comes down. Yeah, you get that.
I agree with you.
Yeah, okay, good.
But if you're pushing for $500,000 houses, and you can get a $200,000 house, a $200,000 house is an affordable house,
Yes,
where
sir.
$500,000
Yeah.
is not.
When we grew up, 65,000 was affordable. It's not there anymore. Yes. Come on, I gotta go for a
I know,
vote.
real quick, when you're about to vote, are you about to vote on this?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so does that mean it takes effect today, or we have to wait till the public hearing to?
No, it takes effect today. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, it takes effect today for the initial 30 days.
Or until May 23rd.
Yeah, or,
Why until May 20th? What would happen?
Because that's when the public hearing is.
But you could overturn it at that time.
We can overturn
it or extend it.
Yeah, exactly, that's right.
They'll vote against it.
Okay.
And I probably messed that up by saying 90 days, but that's probably what we're looking towards for time frame wise, but we're doing it in 30-day increments, because we gotta see our progress.
Well, at your next meeting, you can extend it for another 60 days, 90 days, 120, whatever, that'll be probably some discussion in this building with your planning staff about how long that needs to be extended.
You got a motion and a second.
I have a motion and a second.
Call the question.
No other discussion, John?
Yes.
It was on yes.
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 Motion carries. Old business, discuss approving a referendum.
Yes.
Discuss approving a referendum for the sale of liquor by the drink. This is different than last week when we done beer and wine ordinance update.
Yep, so this is just a referendum, and the last page is the amendments that will be made if the referendum is passed.
So,
Once the public votes on it is passed.
but this is all we're voting on tonight is to make sure that if we want it to be put on the ballot.
That's what we're voting for, is just to be on the ballot.
Just the resolution itself. This last page, y'all as a board had asked to see what would change in the ordinance if the public approves the referendum.
Right.
Correct. And Mike, thank you for that.
All right.
All right.
Very good, thank you.
That's an action item for the end of the month, correct? It says
Yes,
discuss.
yes.
Yes, discuss. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Moving on. Consider approving an ordinance for construction of new private roads.
This is on here to be considered, because at the last meeting it was discussed, and then I know there was some other conversation. How do y'all want me to move forward with this?
Yeah, this is more for Christina at this point, because I know there were some interjections. Mike, if you don't mind, I asked you to do this because I wasn't able to write it down.
Yes.
Could you please restate what you stated to me of the impression of what we were doing versus where we were going?
Okay, sure, so, yeah.
I should have wrote it down. I tell you.
No, that's not what, so when I was talking to Chairman, I said, what I perceive he's trying to do here is to, at least stop creating more private roads that will be problematic in the future. Let's stop where we are now. And then this is, as Chairman said, this is sort of a finger in the dike, and then, new private roads, we'll address those with all of these things that we're talking about. That'll be the progress, but this at least keeps us from having more problems created. Did I say that right?
Correct. And with that being said, though, based off of the moratorium, it's really going to take its place anyway, because you really are not going to be able to create a new road during the moratorium because there's no splits.
True.
So in a way.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
There could be
Yeah.
properties there that are conducive.
You're right, it could.
There could, and this is a permanent change to the ordinance, and it's a good one. I think what you were saying, and what I was perceiving is, this may not be 100% of the solution, and there may be more things that address it as part of both this first round of zoning and subdivision regs that take place through the moratorium, and then another round that will happen hopefully after the comprehensive planning process.
So
Well, I mean,
ordinance,
it's something that we can work with, we can put into place, and then we can work with it, and we can always make changes.
Right.
That's correct.
well, I think, Mike, one of the key words Mike used before was this is temporarily to become permanent for a quick fix, but we are looking at a 20-year solution, is exactly what Derek presented. So if we get this in place, then we'll make strides to getting the rest of it done. So this is a work in progress document. All right. This is up for a vote,
Yes.
and Mike, it is complete.
It is complete, yeah. I think we were really, but you may recall, Christina and I were sort of working on it up through the date of the last meeting, and so we said, let's give the commissioners at least a week to read it.
All right, gentlemen?
I make a motion to adopt it. I understand the purpose of it, that it's a stopgap measure. It gives us a good place as a placeholder, and then we can continue our working, on a formal document, with the road department and other activities as developed.
I second.
I have a motion by Mr. Doster, a second, by Mr. Kirk. Any discussion, gentlemen?
Thank you to Christina for the work putting this together, and the design of this, again, is to discourage or at least not make the creation of private drives advantageous.
Very good. Yes.
Hearing no other discussion?
Private drives accessing more than one residence.
Correct. Hearing any other discussion? It's on you, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes.
There you go, Christina. No more gray hairs, girl. I wish y'all could be a fly on the wall and see how hard that girl works.
She knows better than that.
All right, there is no new business. Any urgent matters? Hearing none.
I need road department to check on Moons Grove.
Okay.
I drove it the other day, leaving church, and there was a few potholes that I think need some attention.
All right.
Potholes also Mariah Church Road.
Anybody else?
Can I get the rumble strips on 191 filled in?
The rumble strips filled in? Don't do like this recently. We patched the rumble strips and they call one speed bumps. Everybody's fed up.
On 191?
That's so vision impaired people can stay between.
That's Braille for blind drivers. Scoot over.
Plenty of blind drivers on there then.
All right. Any other urgent matters?
Road,
I'm sorry.
it would be the, Crabapple Hollow Road on the east side of the Sanford Road. They put the rumble strips in on the
Yes.
west side. We
Yeah,
would need
but not
those
the other.
because we had another little accident there this week with traffic coming from the other way where they got the hill and dinged the car and both of them drove off.
All right, got you, sir.
I'll share just for fun, just because we're talking about rumble strips. I read a federal highway memo the other day, and where they did some research, I think it was in New Hampshire, it has saved an estimated 42% lives, keeping people awake.
They work great, keeping them alive, keeping them awake. You talking about the neighbors?
No, I'm like keeping drivers. There's a reduction in the 42%. Takedown.
Yeah, I got you.
That's a big difference.
It's huge. On a quiet night, they need to be a noise ordinance at Pioli Junction, because you can hear those rumble strips for 3 miles. All right. Any other urgent matters? Stone Stewart. All right.
Months ago, and I rode by there the other day,
On the potholes?
pretty rough shape.
Potholes?
No, the edge of the road is
Okay.
in the area, like 2 feet into the lane.
Okay, gotcha.
At Mr. Wynn's Poultry Farm, is where the road's not wide enough to
Turn in and break it off.
the trucks are going in and out there.
When you come off the road, before that, Jameson Road,
Yeah, the clearing's that right there.
Mike, do you have anything for executive session?
No, sir.
No real estate acquisition, personal matters, potential litigation. Hearing none. Derek? Adjournment.
Yep, sir.
I was looking for you to say.
Go.
All right, good enough. We can remove that line work session, by the way. Good job, gentlemen.
And I'm not saying you don't do this tomorrow.
If it wasn't 3.5 hours, I'd tell you that was enjoyable.
We can exclude.
Oh, absolutely.
When I do a set of plans, I try to use one place, so if we ever have to change it, I'm on the TV. That's.
You're preaching to the choir.
I said that the other day, it was not like, I want to do this, it was like, this is what we need to get to.
This is what we need to get to.
Yeah. That's right.
My thing was, we don't have.
Appreciate it, bud.
Hard job.
Thank you.
See, Ms. May.
Forgive me, you ran out of gas the other day, I just drove right around. I said, you ran out of gas the other week ago when I was.
2 times in 1 week.
Stone's throw for the bed, man.
Public, at the ad for the public hearing for, you've already ran it for.
No, that'd be.
I drive around, I got a little game of cheap.
Yeah.
Now, the public hearing with the zoning, Tracy will run one ad for the C and D public hearing, and then I'll run an ad for E and the public hearing.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
She'll run one for her board, I'll run one for my board.
And that way we don't get messed up on 15 to 45 day window.
Yeah, okay. All right, I just wanted to be sure that public hearing, I'm gonna run ads for different requirements, and then you got 2 different boards.
Yeah, so y'all, is that what y'all do? She just runs the first board and you run.
It's really hard to answer that because Rhonda and Linda left so close together. So, from my understanding is Linda always ran all of her stuff, and Rhonda ran what was for the bid.
I mean, that's safer.
Yeah.
What I'm worried about is there could be too long a period between meetings and whatever big stuff. We need to be on fire.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, and then the wording, Tracy asked me for the wording, it's nothing extravagant.
There's a lot of them, and sometimes
The amendments, these ordinances.
different family situations.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean,
That's what I
can write some up for if you want me to.
I mean, either way, if you want to, because I'll just adopt the same thing, I'll just use the same thing today. Zach said you would get it in the paper,
Okay.
that would be great.
See, I mean, you need to say that.
Yes, sir, thank you.
They gotta have at least a 60-foot to do it, to get to one place, because with 30 foot,
Thank you.
All right,
30
Dennis.
foot, they'll never
I
block.
both said they wanted to.
They're waiting at the door for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then they just moved it up.
They leave it for the future.
That's
They
right.
don't, you know, they're trying to get away from everybody's bad mouthing right now.
That's right.
I'd like, change my job description today. I'm a political, translator.
Oh, taking a political comment and I translate them into English.
You like a Bob the Labor translator?
I think, I might,
Todd said he wanted to.